What's good, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of Get Defensive Sports Network's Power 2 podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jordan. I'm here with my co-host, DJ.
Hello. I have food stuck in my teeth. Hold on. Okay, hi.
That's a lovely way to start the podcast.
I
That's what
do.
you
I
get for
don't know
snacking before you press start.
Well, I was waiting on you.
No, you weren't.
Anyway, it's going to be
You
a fun
know,
episode today.
you know what I appreciate? I appreciate saying Get Defensive Sports Network at the beginning of our podcast.
Oh my gosh, it is such a great ring to it.
It sounds good. It sounds
Correct.
perfect. It
Yes.
sounds like we should blow up. And 3, 4, 500 listeners an episode. I feel like that's where we're going. And
Period.
So to get there, we should actually talk about talk, right? We should talk about the talk. We should talk about the sports. We should talk about the things, and not the power of friendship today, but the power of branding and owning your own brand. That's
Period.
what this episode is about. So, in the news, to get started, SGA wins his first MVP. That is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, for those of you who don't know. He is a basketball player for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think, first of all, shout out to him. Cool, whatever.
Cool, whatever is crazy.
I'm so fascinated by the Oklahoma City Thunder because they are going to be the first team, and I could be forgetting someone, I guess. They're going to be one of the first, depending on how you feel about the 76ers, but I'm not counting them. I feel like their rebuild failed. I think the Thunder are going to be the first team that tore it down for a crap ton of picks, and then it worked.
Oh, okay. I was like, I didn't know you were going with that. Yeah, actually, honestly, yeah, I think so because
and it took
a lot
them a
of
long
teams
time.
rebuild based on stars. They want to go and get the central, whoever's popular at the time sort of thing. Dame going to the Bucks, Embiid obviously being on the what's that team that you just mentioned, 76ers.
Yeah, but he was drafted there.
Was
They were
he?
trying to, yeah.
Okay. I don't care about Embiid specifically,
but the Sixers count because they went and got Paul George.
They
went and got James Harden for a time.
Exactly.
They've made
gone
those
to
trades.
the stars. A lot of teams rebuild based on stars, right? It's been a while since you've seen a team actually use their picks and use them wisely. And that is why OKC is the second youngest team to be in the postseason, and they're second behind themselves because they were the youngest last year to be in the postseason. So shout out to them. Honestly, they are so much fun to watch too. If you don't watch basketball, OKC to me personally, out of all the 30 whatever teams in the NBA, is the most entertaining to watch. Because it's they're the type of team that it really could be anybody's night. It's always going to be SGA's night, which is why he's an MVP. And I was going to burn everything down if he did not get the MVP this year. But it also could be Jalen Williams' night. It also could be Chet Holmgren's night. It also could be Lou Dort's night. It also could be insert. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was. Shout out. That is not I knew he was good, of course, but that is not what I expected. Especially and this is not a conversation we'll have today. Maybe a conversation we can have at another time. Although I don't know if I'm the right person to have it at the level that I watch basketball. But if you would have asked me a couple of years ago, I would have predicted that Anthony Edwards won an MVP
before him. Yeah.
And this is no shade to SGA. He's been hooping. He's averaged 30 points for the last 3 seasons. It's not that he wasn't doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? But it just feels and maybe it's because the Thunder were losing or whatever. It just kind of feels like for a while his hype had kind of fallen behind Anthony Edwards and John Morant. We all know what John Morant did, so nobody's talking about him anymore.
Oh my gosh, he didn't even do anything. Let me not start.
Yeah, he did. What are you talking about? He pointed a gun at a 16-year-old.
That case got dropped.
Doesn't mean he didn't do it. It was on camera. I saw it with my own eyes. This is he didn't go to jail for it. It got dropped.
He a hood nigga. That happens every day.
When you're making millions of dollars,
you could get out of the hood, but you're never going to remove the hood from you.
Yeah, but there's so many of them who don't wave guns at 16-year-olds. I understand. Camera. So what are you talking about?
I'm just saying.
To say he didn't do anything is crazy. He's also, a hood nigga. No, he's not. Actually, if we're going to talk about it, no, he's not. No, he's not. His dad was.
It's part of his culture. Part of his background.
Shut up. Okay, we're not doing this. He is. You've seen 8 Mile.
Yes. Well, once.
He went to Cranbrook. That's a private school.
Right.
And John
Yes.
Morant's parents grew up with both parents. Yeah, and they had a real good marriage. That's John Morant. He is pump faking the hood. First of all,
I'm sorry. I
Papa
live for
Doc
John Morant.
guys.
I don't care. I live for him and all of his problematicness. Because you know what? His problematicness does not include harming women. So, they're not all perfect.
I will give you that one. Like that.
I'm
Like
sorry.
if
I'm
we're, if
sorry.
we're
Some of these players, I'd be like, I don't even see how you can be fans of them. Like Anthony Edwards, for instance. I'm so sorry. My fandom for him, I just can't do it. I can't be a fan of somebody who's going to pay child support up front like that. And
why?
this because
Hold
that's
on. Oh,
we don't have time to get this conversation. Okay, we don't.
okay.
But for me,
I have a quick thing I have to ask you, and then we will talk about this for 3 days after this. Okay, because we can't do it on the show. Okay, is do you if you start at the fact that getting pregnant is not easy, and we need to stop pretending that it just happens
correct,
on both sides,
correct.
right? Is it not acceptable for a man to not want to be an active father? Like the
That is
child
never
support's
acceptable
paid.
to me.
But okay,
That's never acceptable to me.
why?
If there's a child on this planet that you fathered, you need to father it.
But
Period. I don't care. I do not care about your relationship with the mother. I do not care about what you thought about, whatever. There is a human being here that you have a genetic tie to. You are obligated to take care of it. I don't care. I don't
so
care.
I
I
I
don't care.
feel as though I need to be very mindful of how I say this. Although I've said this to my wife, so it's not a crazy thing because she would yell at me if it was.
But like she's
I
your
think
wife.
yeah, no, but like she's my wife because when I say out of pocket things, especially when it comes to like women and bodies and things like that, like if I was one of those people, she wouldn't be my wife. Like you know what I mean?
Fair.
But
Also
but
fair.
even still, especially on a podcast, there's like a baseline of things that I'm not trying to say, and I don't want to be misunderstood.
Correct.
I don't understand why it is acceptable to have an abortion,
Mm-hmm.
but if you decide to not have one, the man is as long as he's providing financially. Don't get me wrong. The man is not allowed to decide to not be an active father. Fighting against paying child support, no. Saying I didn't want this kid, so here's all of the money to take care of the kid. I don't see the issue with that. Like
I
I never agree with like not paying child support, but
yeah.
like there's no in this and there's no choice and for the man and whatever. This is not sympathy for men. That is not what I'm saying. I don't understand. Well, as long as you pay the child support, because everyone should pay it because you did lay there and you did get her pregnant, why you cannot choose to not be active as long as you're providing financially. And that is my thing. He had the money. I don't see the issue with him paying up front.
I feel like when the child is here, there's no choices anymore. Like, I understand that at the end of the day, when it comes to child rearing, okay, it's never really going to be fair, okay, because he didn't have to grow a child for 9 months. She did.
And I'm
So,
not looking for fair, by the way. Like,
right.
come
That's what I'm
on.
like.
But yeah,
But the point that you're presenting is coming almost from a place of fairness. Like, well, if a woman gets to have an abortion and she can pick and choose when she gets to be a mom, why can't a man? Well, I can't really like fully answer that because there's just a level of unfairness in all of this. Like that is just how that goes. Like there's once she decided to have the child, and yes, it was made clear to her that he did not want to be a father. It was made clear to her that he wanted her to have an abortion and all these things. She made the choices that she made because she's well within her right to do that. And she had expectations on her, just that lady had expectations of child support. So I want to be very clear. I think the situation worked out for the two of them the way that it was supposed to. I personally live my life in a way where I feel like there should just be a base level of morality. And when there is a child that is here on this planet, regardless of how you felt about it before, you should feel inclined to take care of that child because it's your child. Like, that's where I'm at. It's a morality thing. I get that, okay, he paid the child support, so that should be enough and all the other stuff. And I think for that lady, it probably is enough. I mean, realistically, given her history, him paying child support, no shade to her, but him paying child support probably was enough. I just am looking at the morality of the situation. Like, that child is not going to have a father or she's not going to have her father in her life because in my opinion I think he's making a very immature decision at this point in his life. I don't think if he was older and a little bit more like seasoned in his life he would make that type of decision. Personally,
And
it's
that
a
may
very
be true.
23-year-old choice to make.
Right. For me, I also kind of view it in the lens of like, and this is a conversation that this will be the last thing I say on this, regardless of how you respond to this. Always think about the fact that like, is it better to have two parents and one of them be bad and not interested, or
Mm-hmm.
to just have one? Because my thing is
Mm-hmm.
like with, I feel like what you're saying with, especially with the morality piece, it also comes with the expectation that that person's going to be a good father. Like they're going to be like, this is my kid. I'm going to step up and be a good father. But I
Yeah.
think that there's so much damage done with bad parents. I'm not even going to say fathers, but it's in
Yeah.
particular bad
No, yeah,
fathers,
you're
but
right.
bad parents. There's also damage done with like the thought process of like, I'm going to stay in this marriage for the kids when the
Yeah.
parents hate each other. And there's so much like trauma and things that go to that. Like, I think there's a lot of kind of things that happen with kids where they feel like, oh, I have to be a parent. I have to stay in this bad relationship. I have to do these things and it's best for the kid. And sometimes it's not. And so I think in this case, if he's not going to be a good father, it is better that he give the money and not be around than for him to be around only when forced and to then break that kid's heart with, oh, I'm going to pick you up and then I'm not going to pick you up. I'm going to be here and I'm not going to be here. I'm missing your fifth birthday party because I'm out clubbing or I'm doing this or I'm doing that. For me, it's like, if you're not going to be an active father and you have the money, pay it and then get out of that child's life, because that child can find like that woman can find a step, like can marry, right? Maybe it's an uncle, maybe it's a cousin. Like you can get a male influence who actually is there and loves the child and things like that. So for me, if the child is taken care of financially, I don't see that. I would prefer that than a bad father that's around because they have to be.
I respect that. I respect that thought process of, if
And
he's not going to be a good dad, then don't. I do respect that. I just feel
and with
like,
that, I'm also similar with women. Like everyone's like, because you had to like, if you're not gonna be a good mom,
no,
then
yeah, I agree. No,
leave the
you should
child
be a
with the
good
dad.
parent if you're going to be a parent.
Right, like
Yes, I
leave the
agree.
child with the dad and go do like, I'm not. I also don't, just because
No,
I don't
yeah,
want to
to
get
be
this
clear,
mixed up.
you
Yeah,
feel that for both parents. Yeah,
like because I don't feel like the dad is the only one that can walk out. Nobody should walk out the kid's life. But if the mom's a bad mom, then the dad should be a single dad. And like all men who get a woman pregnant, you should be willing to be like, if I have to be a single dad, I will be, because you're not a good. But
then that's all I'm
anyways,
saying is at this point, because with him specifically, he had 3 children in 1 year. If you don't want to be a dad, figure out what you need to do from the beginning, my guy. If you don't want
which
to be a
is
dad, figure out what you need to do. You need to be wrapping it up. You need to be having sex with partners consistently that are on birth control. Whatever the case is, if you truly do not want to be a father, because having 3 children in 1 year to me is a systematic error on his part
I
of
do
not
agree with
taking
that.
care of what he needs to take care of from the beginning. You can't assume that just because you have money or just because you ask the woman to get an abortion that she has to make that choice. She doesn't have to make that choice for you just because you're going to pay it or just because you're going to whatever. That lady was 38, the woman who he got pregnant. She's 38. I'm not
Oof, that's
making a
disgusting.
decision, which is crazy, I know. But I'm not making a decision at 38 to get an abortion maybe as quick as I would if I was 23 or 25. So
Yeah,
that's all.
but you shouldn't be sleeping with a 23 or a
You should not,
38.
but that's
This whole
again, that's why I'm like
situation
the
is gross.
situation worked out I
This
think the
is
way it was
gross
supposed to
on
for those
everybody's
two.
part. What are you,
Like
38? You're with a
I
23
know,
year
I
old.
know.
Ugh.
But what I'm getting at is just because you are asking a woman to do that or you're offering to pay for it or whatever, she's not obligated to do that.
Yes,
So you don't need to even be getting yourself into those sorts of situations. You know who you are. You're Anthony
especially.
Edwards. You know that there are going to be women who are going to be predatory in certain ways and want
Mhm.
to have your baby for certain things, which I do think is what's happening in this particular situation. I want to be very clear. I do not think this woman is innocent in this at all. I just don't respect somebody who can really dead ass say that there's a child on this planet and I don't want to be a parent to it. And I'm saying that about anybody, women, men, trans people, whoever in between. If there's a child walking around on this planet and you are not taking care of it and that is your child, I am judging you. I don't care. I'm listening and I'm judging. I don't care.
I think that's a fair point. I
Yeah.
agree, because I do not respect his decision. I just think he
Yeah.
has the right to make it.
Yeah.
But I will never, ever, ever feel bad for a man that is old enough to make the decision and also old enough to get snipped and then doesn't.
Vasectomies are reversible. Like if you don't
That
want
is,
to have babies, go
get
snip it up,
snipped.
have fun, and then when you are at a point in your life to have a child, then you can go get it. Vasectomies are reversible. I don't know how many young men are aware of that. I don't know if they know. I don't know what y'all are taught about it, but vasectomies is not just for old dudes who don't want to have babies anymore. You can have a vasectomy and get it reversed.
Honestly, and I'm this may okay. So this is either happening now or no. Sorry, this is in a trial phase. This is not happening now. They're very close to like a male birth control,
Male birth
which is
control, exactly.
which is essentially it's like a shot that
Injectable.
dissolves in a year. So like you don't even have to do anything. It's like, but that's not out yet.
Well, of
That's still
course
in like
not. It's
trial
it's gonna
phase.
be
But
trials and stuff.
the
Yeah.
the the, the vasectomy is reversible, and there's a lot of men who say they don't want kids, and then there's a lot of men who do a whole lot of stupid things, and so it's just like, hey dog, if you don't want kids, get that snip.
And we live in a
Just
patriarchal society that puts the burden of birth control on women. And that's the part that is unfair and ridiculous because at the end of the day, I can only have one child at a time, whereas a man could have multiple. I think we
yeah,
have plenty examples of that. So to me, it's like to put the burden of birth control only on women and put the burden of the choice of parenthood only on women, but men can just be willy nilly on whatever they want to do. That to me is just, it's just, you're too, he's young. And that's the part that's unfortunate. And it's that I don't think he's even thinking about the repercussions of all of this once the child gets older, once he gets older. Like, I am a child support kid, okay? And I don't want to get too deep into it, but like I knew I was a child support kid and I knew that I was a financial obligation for the parent that paid child support, and that is not a fun feeling. And I don't know how I would feel as if I grew up and found out that my father decided to just pay the child support up front instead of being a dad to me. Like the what that child is gonna have to like go through to like understand that, like I hate that for her. I really, really do.
yes,
And that's all I'm gonna say. So, anyways, back to the athletics of the situation. I did not think AE was going to get an MVP before SGA because I've been on the SGA MVP train for about 2 or 3 years now. But to your point, I could see how like you would expect AE to get it first. I don't know. I feel like AE is probably not going to get an MVP for real until he wins a championship.
why?
I don't know. I feel like he's not getting evaluated in the same way as the other MVP candidates are. But I also don't feel like he's scoring at high volumes and he's making a difference on his team, but he's dominant, but it's almost like it's still not at the level of SGA, of Nikola Jokic, of who was the other candidate, Giannis. Like it's still not at that level.
Right, right. It may not be there yet, but
Yeah.
I guess, and again, part of this is my ignorance because I don't watch basketball all the time. And part of it's my ignorance, and part of it's the media. I didn't realize that SGA was sustaining that level
Yeah.
because like nobody wins it their first year, right? Like Anthony Edwards MVP is probably in 2 more years, just like
Yeah.
SGA has been averaging 30 for 3 years, and now he got it. So like,
Yeah.
but I guess I just didn't expect him like it to be this year. And if we're
Yeah.
talking about next year, like AE could win one next year. If we're talking about 2 years, AE could win one in 2 years. So like I didn't expect that it was going to be this year.
Yeah.
But I mean, happy for SGA, happy for Oklahoma City, the small market team, the team with the rebuild, and I don't care about them really, but like I think it's cool for the fans to like
Oh my
have
God,
to
so
watch your
cool.
team like trade everybody for picks and just pick and be bad and be bad, and then you did it off the back of your homegrown superstars. Like,
Yeah. It's pretty iconic. And I think they're going to be together for a little while, from what I understand. I think the only one who's coming up on a contract year, I do believe, is SGA, if I'm not mistaken. And he'll be eligible for the highest salary in NBA history. His supermax would be around 380, I believe, 350, 380, something like that for 5 years. So, and he probably will, and they probably will go ahead and shell out that cash because they have it.
I mean,
So,
who
yeah.
they paying?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, they're gonna shell out the cash because they have it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
shout out to all the small market teams. I know we're jumping a little bit, but since we're already talking about basketball, shout out to all the small market teams Minnesota, Indiana, OKC still hanging in there. I'm not New York is not a small market, sorry, but
No,
like love that for New York because they haven't been at this point in a long time.
right.
So shout out. I love that we are experiencing a point in the NBA postseason where none of the teams have won a championship realistically in most of our lifetimes.
Except
So
Denver. Oh wait, Denver's not here. I'm tripping.
Denver's not, yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, but yeah, and
OKC technically is the only team that has a championship, but they have it as the Seattle Supersonics. They do not have one as OKC.
yeah.
So and then Indiana doesn't have one, New York doesn't have one, and Minnesota does not have one. So
Yeah, I also think it's like New York, of course, isn't the small market team,
yeah,
but when you're talking about players, right?
yeah,
It's all except all of the teams are also like we've been talking about for years. Like
the
when is the
same
NBA going to
guys.
transition? When is it right? And hopefully they start to market it better because like this is the time. Like this is the time of transition when the four faces in the finals is Anthony Edwards, it's Jalen Brunson, it's SGA, and it's Tyrese Halliburton.
I mean,
Like that
come
is like,
on,
and it's like, okay, like now can we stop talking about LeBron? Can we stop talking about like not ever, but can we stop talking about LeBron? Can we stop talking about Steph? Can we stop talking about Kawhi? Like
KD.
let's
Yeah,
let's push like it's an all young final, right? And then
yeah,
last year, like granted, like last year was like that too because you had the Mavericks with Luca, you had Minnesota again,
hmm
you had Boston, which
Boston.
Boston doesn't feel young because they've been to the finals so many times, but like they still are technically young superstars. Like they were just on
Yeah,
like the first year or so of their
Jason
max
Tatum's what, like
deal.
29? I don't even think he's that
No,
old.
he's like
28?
27,
Yeah, I was like, I don't think
27,
he's
something like
even
that.
that
Yeah.
old. Yeah.
They just don't feel young because like second year in the league they were battling LeBron in the finals, but
Yeah.
they've been like more of a quote unquote household name for a while, but they were young, and I don't remember who the fourth team was. Maybe it was Miami, but either way,
For the
three,
East, no, there was
yeah,
Indiana again, I think.
last year.
Yeah, because
Either way,
Indiana
like
smacked New York up to get into the Eastern Conference Finals.
and
Yeah,
then they
yeah.
lost to Boston.
And then they
So
lost
yeah,
to Boston. Yeah.
so it's like you have basically two straight years where the final four are these young superstars, and it's like let's get this marketing going.
Yes.
Let's this is their time now, right? Like
I feel like
LeBron's
the
not winning
NBA
another one. Steph's not winning another one. KD's not winning. KD's definitely not winning another one
not
with
in
how the Suns
not
are
in
looking right
Phoenix.
now. So it's just like,
Sorry.
yeah.
Not in
And
Phoenix, fam.
you got the Cavs. I mean, they got the balance, but the Cavs are up there. They're doing
Oh,
good with their young team. So it's yeah, this is if the NBA does it well, this is an exciting time, and we're starting to finally see that transition. And all I can hope is that the superstars they start to retire because that will also help. Like,
yeah. Yeah, because I feel like the NBA has gotten a little lazy in their marketing, and they're falling back on what we know. They're falling back on, oh, will LeBron get his what, fifth, sixth, whatever championship? They're falling back on Steph Curry and his shooting abilities. They're falling back on, will KD get back to the mountaintop? They're falling back on the same storylines that we've been having. And I've even noticed, like, you could tell they ain't got no storylines because I think the biggest storyline that they have for the Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves is the fact that SGA and Nikhil Alexander Walker are cousins. That's like the only storyline that they've been talking about this whole time.
oh, say Gilgis Alexander and Kill Alex. Okay.
They're cousins and they grew up together and they went to high school, I believe, together. They went in like the same area, whatever, but they grew up together. So, and they both wanted to be in the NBA together. And so this is a big deal. This is the first time that they've played each other for a Western Conference Finals. So, that's the only storyline they got.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Interesting.
what the heck? And then the Knicks and Pacers, of course, they're living off of the Reggie Miller era and harkening back to when the Pacers and the Knicks rivalry really like began. But you could tell that they haven't had to talk about anybody else for the last like 20 years. So it'll be nice to get
Yeah.
some new storylines built. I think I saw a tweet that said this is the first time that we've had an NBA finals that did not include or excuse me, an NBA like conference finals that did not include either Steph, LeBron, KD, James Harden. I think Russell Westbrook, KY, like it listed a few people in like 10 years.
Yeah.
And it'll be the first time the NBA has had 7 straight champions that were all different. Nobody has repeated. So we're in a new era. Like the NBA probably has the most parity that it's had in a while.
Yep. Um, so moving on, because that was supposed to be the news.
I know. I know.
Although technically, if we take out the non-news piece, it was a news item. We just detoured a little bit.
It was we
And
didn't really talk about it as it was happening. So
yeah, and a sad piece of news.
yeah.
Colts owner Jim Irsay died at 65. I've been reading a lot of like stories about him, and there's just like a lot of really cool things that kind of happened with him. He basically, his dad battled addiction, and his dad was really mean. He was like a really mean drunk, and so Irsay, yes, obviously a billionaire, but his dad sort of made him. He basically like he knew that he was going to get the team, and so he started at the bottom. He started as a ball boy. He worked his way up. He became the GM at 24, and let's be honest, that was a little bit of nepotism, but he
That's
worked all the
nepotism all
way.
day for the rest of our
Yeah,
lives.
24 is crazy, but he worked all the way through, and like essentially anyone that knows him talked about like his sole goal in life was to not be his dad, who was a mean drunk and was mean to him and was firing people. His dad is obviously the person who picked up the Colts and moved them from Baltimore to Indianapolis in the middle of the night, which led to a whole bunch of things. And so, but he also unfortunately battled addiction with like painkillers and things like that. But like all the things coming out was just about how nice he was, and like how much he did for Indianapolis, and how much he did for people, and how he didn't treat people like they weren't beneath him because he was rich. There was a lot of outpouring from former players, and let's be honest, right? Like ownership in sports is very weird, and so there doesn't seem to be a lot of owners that would get this kind of reaction from the
Oh yeah.
media and from
Yeah.
fans and from players. The media is talking about how he used to call them and be like, I got a journalism degree from SMU. Like, I want you to be honest. I want you to be real. Like, if we're bullshitting, say that. Now, I may call you at 1 o'clock in the morning to discuss it, but like, also, what billionaire is calling your local media member and not like yelling at them and calling them stupid, but like actually talking about the story and why they felt that way and how they felt about the team and all of that stuff. And one piece that I think, especially coming off sort of what we just talked about, that I think is his most lasting legacy, and I think that you will appreciate, is he had three daughters, and he said, I'm passing my team down to my daughters. As he was getting older, he's like, I'm not selling, I'm not adding another partner. It's staying in the family. I'm passing it down to my daughters. His daughters work all throughout
Hmm.
um, the all throughout the team. The oldest one that they think is going to be the like leading owner, like the one that's calling the decisions. She's worked in scouting. She's been in the draft room for the last 5 to 7 years. Like she is in all of the business decisions and things like that. He has another daughter that does their philanthropy, and then his third daughter does a lot of their special. Maybe the special events and philanthropy is the same one. Either way, they all work in three
In the
distinct
system. Yeah.
one
Yeah.
one oh no, it is different. One does all the like big the special events and all of that. The other one does their philanthropic arm, and then the other one is in doing like the oldest one has been doing a lot of the business decisions and different things like that. And so she's the one that they think is going to take over. And in an era, right, he's 65, and growing up in this time where most people don't care about their daughters, especially when it comes to sports and all of these kind of things, that he's not one of those like, you married my daughter, so my
You're the owner now.
son-in-law is
Yeah.
taking over.
Yeah.
No, no, no. Like he's like, this is staying in the family. Like my daughters like football. They grew up in a football family. They want to be a part of the organization. This is their team, and I think that is also a cool piece of his lasting legacy.
Period.
Um,
Just like the Lions. I mean, hey, the
yeah,
Lions are good now because when you get a woman in charge, good things happen.
and I'm hoping we do the same thing because,
I
good lord, boy, I'm tired of losing.
I know. I'm like, listen, I feel so much kinship with you when it comes to football fandom because both of our teams are trash.
Yeah,
Like mine, of course, has been historically trash for longer. I believe has the Cowboys have been doing worse than the Colts this whole not this whole time. I think the Colts we've had some seasons where we were doing a little better, but for the most part, we've been trash for.
yeah, but also like with the Colts and the Cowboys thing, it was like a lot of people kind of talked about him in relation to Jerry because he was like
Mm,
he was the GM, like he was making the decisions, and then when his
hmm.
dad died, he was like basically like you could have been Jerry, right? Like you were the GM. Why, when you became the owner, did you not call the shots? And he said because I knew that I couldn't do both. Even like he became the owner at like 28, like he was still young. His dad, he
Oh
was
well,
like I
yeah, I
knew I
wouldn't want to do both at 28 either.
but it was just like 28. A lot of times at 28, you're also power hungry. So like to have the foresight to be like, I can't do both. I'm gonna go hire these people and do these things and stuff. So it's very sad, but yeah, hopefully it seems like he was in pain for like the last year or so, and he sort of kind of got out of the light for a while, and he just kind of wasn't the same. So yeah,
Well, shout out to him. He is an SMU alum, as you mentioned, and he played football at SMU in the 70s, I believe they said. That doesn't sound right. 60s? Sorry, 50s, 80s? They told us what team he was on. Anyways, the point is he played football at SMU, so shout out to him. And I live for the daughter's thing because I did not know that. The last piece of news, because we have been talking about news for 30 minutes, is that the University of Texas at Arlington, not to be confused with University of Texas at Austin, this just announced a couple weeks ago, or actually last week, I believe, that they are going to be the first NCAA Division I school in Texas and the fifth overall to add women's flag football to their roster of sports that they offer. I am so excited about this. And then in turn, Arlington ISD, the Arlington Independent School District, added women's flag football to all 6 of the high schools. So not only is there going to be the actual football team at the college, but now the locale school district is making sure that they have a system to feed up into it. And I am so excited about this. I am going to be going to some flag football games. I can't wait to see what it looks like. It's 40 minutes down the road for me. So I get to actually kind of experience this in person and see what kind of culture we're going to be able to build around it. And I just love that because we talked about this obviously with the NCAA making it a sanctioned sport, like what that was going to look like as far as schools that were going to add it, which conferences were going to add it, who was kind of going to be at the forefront of it. And I love that a smaller market school like University of Texas at Arlington is saying, hey, like, we're going to take this bet, we're going to take this risk and add it on. And so hopefully we'll see a lot more larger schools and larger markets doing the same thing. So super excited. They are the first D1 school in Texas to do it, though. There are other schools in Texas that have done it. They're just not D1.
Yeah.
But it's also super excited because women's flag football will be debuting as an Olympic sport in this next year's Olympics in 2028. So we're creating a system, people. This is how these things stick, is when you create systems around it, when you make it into a place where you have ways to move up. I'm very interested to see how the middle school system will also be participating in this, because obviously there's middle school football. So I would imagine there should be some level of middle school girls flag football in order to kind of have even more of a feeder system, or at least starting to see more community teams and things like that pop up. So I'm really excited about it. I can't wait. Hopefully SMU is going to follow suit.
No, that's dope. My best friend coaches women's flag football in Charlotte, so it is becoming bigger and bigger, and pretty soon it is going to be standard. Maybe not pretty soon, right? It does take some time, but you know, it is going to be standard. And one of my favorite things, because I don't have kids yet, and I don't even know if I'm going to have a daughter, but like one of my favorite things to look at is sort of like, at the age that I am, where will it be when I have kids? So like when my kid is going into high school, which is somewhere between 15 to 18 years, because I don't know when I'm going to have them, like where women's sports are going to be, right? And so you at 14 to 18 years, soccer is going to be blowing up. We're probably going to have women's flag football, and at most D1 schools, we're probably going to have it at all of the high schools. Like, so it's very exciting. This stuff does take time, but you just kind of keep getting the news more and more, and then and then it sort of spirals, right? It's like the WNBA, right? That spiraled. Women's soccer spiraled. You had a couple World Cups, and then boom, soccer's everywhere. And now they're talking about academies, and they're doing all of these things, and so you just need the momentum. And the momentum is there for this, and
the investment. To be clear, we need momentum and investment.
And I will say, like, the NFL, and maybe not everyone has paid attention to this, but the NFL has been heavily focused on women's flag football for years.
Mm-hmm.
Like
the Dallas Cowboys is actually funding the Arlington ISD.
Yeah, like it took time, but the NFL has been talking about flag football as a whole and women's flag football for 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer than that. So I think that's, and it's interesting because when they first started talking about flag football, it just sort of seemed like, oh, we're getting in trouble for concussions, so let's just do something.
Do this other thing, yeah.
And maybe that's how it started. But now there's like a legitimate, like, they do this. Like the NFL is like really involved in this, both for men and women, but specifically for women. So I think that's great.
I love it. I'm obsessed with it. I'm excited about it. You said something and it made me think. Oh, speaking of flag football, the NFL did, and this was not something that was obviously like we were like worried about, but the NFL did officially approve for NFL players to participate in flag football for the 2028 Olympics. So I am very excited about how that roster is going to shape up and who's going to end up playing for Team USA for men's flag football. I'm very, very excited excited because obviously, like we know NFL players a little bit better. I'm sure the entire women's flag football team will not be women athletes that we're familiar with, probably. But that'll be fun because it'll give them. They'll kind of. I'm hoping they'll have like a little moment like rugby had, where we're like, we don't know who these women are, but now we're obsessed. But I'm really excited to see like how that NFL to flag football roster is going to develop. Who's going to be the coach? Who's going to be like? I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. I hope it's one of the coaches from the NFL. Like, there's not a lot, but there's about 4 or 5 ish, like on field coaches like that are women in the NFL. So hopefully they
Yeah,
tap one
yeah,
or some of them to be involved, which also hypes up their profile and all of that sort of stuff.
yeah. Especially the Eagles
Um,
coach. What is she? I think she's one of the defensive coaches, right?
is she or is she strength and conditioning?
One of
No,
the
the
two.
Eagles one is on field. I think. I don't think she's strength and conditioning. I don't
I
remember
think
what she does though.
I don't
But
fully
I know what you're
remember, but
talking about. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that'd be super cool just because her profile would be pretty. Her profile is kind of the highest at this point out of all the female coaches because she just won a Super Bowl. I think she
Yeah.
became the first female coach to win a Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah, because I think one of them, at least at one point in time, was on the Raiders, and they not winning nothing.
yeah, and another one was on
So,
the Falcons, and they ain't
and they not
won.
winning
And
nothing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, shout out to the Falcons. We're rooting for y'all. Anyway, okay, that is all the news.
yeah. To go to our 2 minute drill, very quickly for the college football has finally made a decision on something. It's
Oh my
not the
God,
full decision, but it is a
they're
decision that
deciding.
did need to be made. It's only the end of May, and the season starts in a couple of months. But they did finally decide that for 2025 only,
This season.
they are going to straight seating, meaning 1 through 12, meaning for all of the people who complained about this
The auto
team getting
bids.
this thing, the auto bids, and how it was sort of weird because this was sort of a weird year and Boise had a bye and whatever it was. For this year only, because we don't know what the next year is going to look like. They're going straight bids, which means the bids are going to be based off of the committee ranking. There are still auto bids. It's just not auto buys. So
Oh,
the
okay.
conference champs all get in. The best G5 team still gets in, but you do not have to be a conference champion to get a buy. So how this would have happened last year to make this make sense is last year Oregon, Penn State, Texas, and Georgia would have gotten the buys. If you remember last year, Oregon and Georgia got the bye. Texas and Penn State did not. One of those, I believe, was Arizona State, and then the other one, I believe, was who's the other one? I don't remember, but it was another team that they felt shouldn't have got it. It was
Uh,
Boise.
it was no another team that they felt shouldn't have got in.
The bye, not the shouldn't have got in. The
Oh,
four
oh, oh, the
buys.
buys.
I
I don't
think
know. I wasn't listening
Boise.
to all the chatter about the buys. I didn't care.
Yeah, I think it was Boise who got the bye. Because yeah, it was because Clemson won the ACC, but they didn't get it.
Yeah,
It was Boise who got the bye.
yeah.
So if they had straight seeding last year, this is how it would have been: Oregon 1, Georgia 2, Texas 3, Penn State 4, Notre Dame 5, Ohio State 6, Tennessee 7, Indiana 8, Boise 9, SMU 10, Arizona State 11, Clemson 12. What this would have led to is Boise versus Indiana in the first round, Clemson versus Notre Dame in the first round, Arizona State versus Ohio State in the first round, and SMU versus Tennessee in the first round. So there's a chance that we could have gotten some more interesting games
Some more competitive games. Yeah,
in the first round. And then how they projected who would win, just to kind of show the next thing.
yeah.
The second round, how this was projected is they have Oregon versus Indiana in the second round. If you remember, Oregon played Ohio State and got smacked up.
Smacked up,
Oregon fans were very unhappy about
smacked up,
that.
and packed up
Yeah, they would have preferred to play Indiana. Penn State would have played Notre Dame in the second round. We did get that game, but we got that game in the semis.
later. Yeah,
Texas would have played Ohio State in the second round. Again, we did get that game, but that would have been in the
later.
semis. And Georgia would have played Tennessee in the second round. So, better or worse, I don't know. I like
It's
it.
it's there. I mean, fundamentally speaking, those are more interesting and entertaining matchups than what we ended up with. Like the first round of games I was bored. Everybody's getting blown out. Like it was a little less competitive. It didn't feel like it got competitive until the semis. So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I'm glad that they're only doing it for 1 year. I'm glad that they're not like laying down and getting married to this idea, because this may not also work either, or there might still be some other wonky things. So I'm glad that they're like willing to go kind of like year to year and figure out the best way to do this and work out the kinks, because like this is the first time, well now second time that they're going to do it this way. So there's just they are just going to have to be a little bit of trial and error on like how this is all going to work.
Yeah, and because of that, there is no telling when we're gonna find out about 26. We still don't know if we're doing
Yeah.
14 or 16. We still don't know if we're
Yeah.
doing auto bids or not. We don't know if the Big Ten's gonna get four and the SEC is gonna get four. If we don't know if like we still don't know like if they do the four, if it's going to be straight seating. We don't know anything about 2026. They don't know anything about 2026. They're
We're
just
taking it
sitting in
one
a
year at a time,
room.
okay?
Yeah, they're just sitting in a room arguing about it. But the hope is they want, because especially because 2026 they're going to have to make other changes. Like they're most
Yeah.
likely going to have to change the calendar. The goal is that they know 2026 before this season starts. So there's another meeting in June, and I
Yeah.
think the hope is at June or July, because there's going to be other things they have to do, namely moving the I think the calendar is going to have to start a week ahead, at least 1 week, and then they're going to have to throw in some other things. And then you also remember the Big Ten and SEC is potentially talking about doing play-in games for their, if they get the four out. There's a lot of dominoes that has to happen once they know 2026
What they're
through
doing. Yeah.
2036. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But that happened. And then the
Good
other thing,
times.
which I thought was interesting, and we don't know if this is going to happen, but I think this makes so much sense. The college football coaches, and I want to emphasize coaches because I feel like people don't listen to the coaches enough when they make rule changes. And I think this one would be pretty smart. College football coaches are discussing a plan to add NFL style OTAs this spring calendar. For those of you who don't know, right now it's just spring training. You get 15 practices. In most cases, your 15th practice is your spring game, so you get 14, and it has to happen in the spring. It typically happens in March. What they're saying is because of the transfer portal and
Issues.
and you also, with this, you also can't practice over the summer. So what they do over the summer is like they do
Workouts.
unorganized workouts,
Yeah.
and basically your quarterback and your wide receivers will go out and run, and like they'll do things, they'll get into the playoffs, but it has to be player led. And in general, the only coaches that are allowed to interact with players over the summer is
It's
strength
like
and
position
conditioning.
coaches, right? Oh, strength and conditioning. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, but they can't do any team activities and
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So, what they're basically saying is because of the transfer portal, because so many teams don't have their full roster, the playoffs going longer, right? Ohio State and Notre Dame didn't finish, and literally Ohio State played a game when their spring semester started. The current calendar doesn't allow for you to do much, and so what they're asking for is they want to add 6 non-padded workouts to the 15 spring practices for a total of 21
21.
days. And then those 21 days can be split across 2 different 5-week windows for a total of 7 weeks. And what they're saying is there must be at least 3 weeks between the two sessions. And it spans from January to June. So to be clear, because that sounds confusing, basically you can have 2 5-week windows of practice where you are splitting 21 practices anytime from January to June.
Mm-hmm.
Every team can be different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State could do theirs in April and June. Texas could do theirs in February and April, right? SMU could do theirs in, they
March and
could do
May,
theirs,
probably.
right? Like you can do it whenever, but you have 5 weeks and there has to be 3 weeks in between. So they can't be back to back. You have to give players time to rest. I think what would happen is most players, most teams would do it in March. They would keep their traditional, except maybe they'd cut a few, and then they would do June is what I think most will do. Most will do March and June. They may do April and June just to give whatever. But the emphasis on June is this last transfer portal window, because currently, if you get players in the transfer portal in April and May, you can't practice with them until August.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the quotes specifically said, if you're at Clemson who doesn't lose anybody, you can have traditional spring and just get 6 extra opportunities in the summer. Or if you're like said Liberty head coach Jamie Chadwell, or if you're like us that loses a lot every year, and you don't have the majority of your team until May, then you can practice more in May or June. So you could flip it. You could say, we're going to do 6 practices in April, right? Just to kind of get the juices
Get everybody
flowing.
out.
And
Yeah.
then we're going to do our 15 practices in June when we have the full team. And so remaking the spring calendar has been a frequent point of discussion by sports leaders. They're also considering moving the transfer portal to a single 10-day window.
Yeah,
There's a
they
lot of
probably should.
things. And so, honestly, I think this is brilliant, right?
Yeah.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it helps, right? When you have the rosters, you have these sort of things. Um, and I don't, it's not adding too much on players, right? It's 6 non-padded practices. So like you're not adding a bunch of extra hitting and things like that. It's essentially just more time for you to get in the playbook, for you to
Build
do team
chemistry.
activities, to build
Yeah.
chemistry with all of the ever changing landscape. I don't know when this would be voted on because they have various times where they vote on rule changes. I think the earliest this could be done would be in the summer for next year. But if we're being honest, it probably wouldn't happen until 2027
7,
just because there's
probably.
so many other things that they're doing.
Yeah.
But this is another, and the long list of changes that are going to come, this is going to come. And I really hope it happens. They don't listen to coaches, so it may not, but I think this is dope.
I do think it makes sense though, because the biggest issue there's also just been an overarching issue of players not wanting to have spring games because of the transfer portal issues, right? So I think all of this is related. Like if we can have a little bit more freedom in our practice scheduling, if we can have more time with the teams because there's so much transferring going on, if we can close the transfer portal window a little bit earlier or make it just a shorter time period, I think that helps. That helps everyone at the end of the day. Like, I don't think they're suggesting things that's only beneficial to their specific situation. That's something that can help everyone across the board. Because it's not like they're saying they want people to transfer less or they want what we do, but that's not happening.
Yeah.
That is not happening. After the house settlement and after everything goes the way it's supposed to go, transferring is only going to get more and more high volume, and they should be able to. There should be adjustments in place for that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not fair to say, okay, well, we practiced and we have to have all of our spring practices in this period of time, and then we get 20 new guys after that. Like,
Yep.
now
You
what?
have right, like you have, and using Ohio State for an example, right? Half of Ohio State's players didn't even practice in the spring.
Yeah.
Because like you're going to tell Jeremiah Smith, you're going to tell your starting offensive line, you're going to tell these players who just played 16, 17 games that 3 weeks later they need to be at practice again. Their body needs to
They're
rest.
not
They
doing
need to
it. Yeah.
heal, right? You
Yeah.
need the time. And so it honestly, right, I think what for a lot of teams, especially the big programs, the spring would just be for the young guys, right?
Yeah.
Like obviously like the on-field practices, of course, the hitting,
Yeah.
right? Obviously, you're working out, you're running, you're doing that. But the on-field practices would be for the young guys. They would get 6, 7, 8 practices of reps, right? With the coaches, with the
With
hit
the
and to do all
schemes, with
these things.
everything. Yeah.
And then you come into the summer when you have your full roster and your Jeremiah Smith has had time to heal and not get hit, and your Cade Klubniks and your, it all insert your star player, right? Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame. It doesn't matter, right? These players, they got that time to heal, and then in June you say, "All right, boom, here's
It's
6,
time.
7, 8
Yeah.
practices. The whole team is doing it. Starters are doing it. You got your rest in the spring. Here we go." And then you're off in July, right? You're off the first couple weeks in August because camp typically starts middle to late August or whatever, and then you're back at it. I
Yeah.
think that works for everyone. I think it makes sense. It works if your team did a late playoff run. It works if you had a bunch of transition in the transfer portal. Like, I don't see who this hurts, especially for those of you who don't know this. The players are on campus in the summer anyway.
They're there. They're
Like they're
taking
all,
summer
like,
classes.
it's
They're
not,
doing,
yeah.
they're there.
So it's like they're already there. This is one of the best ideas I've heard in a while. It's new, so there could be something later that comes up that's dumb, but like this is one of the few things that I heard and I instantly was like, that makes
This
sense.
could work. Yeah.
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 So
And you have to get with the times at the end of the day. Like, you just have to get with the times. And I think this is one of those sorts of rule changes or additions, if you will, that is just indicative of the times. Like,
yeah.
this is where we're at. The landscape is different. More guys are transferring. There's the playoffs is longer now, especially if we're going to talk about 14 or 16 teams. Like, it's longer, it's more games, it's more activity, it's more like we have to adjust as the game continues to change. So hopefully that does work out, because I think, again, like, It's not one of those things where it's like so obviously only going to benefit like the bigger teams, or only going to like, this is something that can actually genuinely help everybody in every sort of situation.
Yes. All
Cute.
right.
Love it. Oh my
So
god. We are
we'll see.
yapping.
I think this is interesting. So, as we transition to our power sweep segment, this is going to be the last thing that we talk about today.
Per.
Um, it is 2025. And you know what
It is.
2025 means? It means we are officially at a quarter of a century, right? And we all know that everyone loves to do 25,
Oh,
50, 75, 100, right? They like to do the best teams, right? You can't do the best teams every decade. Like people do all decade teams, but like 25 years, that's enough time where you get multiple eras. So the Athletic, they're doing a big series on the quarter century. They did one. They did a multiple for college football. So for college football, they did the best programs. They did the best teams, meaning like right 2018 Alabama versus 2017 Alabama versus 2019 Ohio State, like individual teams. They did 25 best players. For baseball, they did 25 best players. Like they did one player at each position of the last 25 years. There were three Yankees on there. Shout out Derek Jeter. Shout out Aaron Judge, shout out Mariano Rivera. So they're doing this, right? And so one that I thought would be interesting to sort of talk about, just to go over briefly, is the top 25 programs of the last 25 years. What they looked at to determine, and again, this is only one person, right? But what they looked at to determine this, they looked at win percentage, they looked at BCS versus New Year's Six bowl games. Those are the top of the top bowl games for those of you who don't know. They looked at national titles. They looked at conference titles, top 10 wins, top 25 wins, top 10 rankings at the end of the season, top 25 rankings at the end of the season, and then losing seasons.
come on, data.
So based on all of this, I'm going to run down the teams 25 to 1, and
Come
then we
on.
just give our thoughts about any. All right.
Let's rattle them off. Let's do it.
So and I'll just like I'm not going to read all these stats for all of them, but just the ones that I thought were interesting. So number 25 is Michigan State. They've had two conference titles and four BCS / New Year's Six bowl game appearances.
Period.
Um, Washington is 24. They have five New Year's Six or BCS bowl appearances, four conference titles, and they haven't won a national championship. But yeah, okay. Iowa's 23rd. Iowa's 23rd. They have three New Year's Six and no conference titles, but they only have two losing seasons in 25 years.
I'm sorry,
Two
who was that
losing
again?
Iowa. They only have two losing seasons in 25 years.
Why am I shook at that information?
They're all, yeah. Number 22 is Utah. They have five conference titles and I'm just going to say four BCS / New Year's Six bowl appearances. 21 is Oklahoma State. They have one conference title and three BCS New Year's Six bowl appearances, but they only have four losing seasons in 25 years. Number 20 is Boise State, four BCS New Year's Six, 13 conference titles, and
Wow.
zero losing seasons in 25 years.
Period.
TCU is 19. They have four BCS New Year's Six, four conference titles. Virginia Tech is 18. They have five BCS New Year's Six, four conference titles. Penn State, this one is interesting, but you have to remember it's 25 years.
Right,
So
right,
Penn
right, right,
State
right,
is
right.
17 because they were bad at the beginning of the decade.
Yeah.
But they have eight BCS New Year's Six, three conference championships, and five losing seasons. But the biggest issue for Penn State is they only have seven top 10 wins in 25 years. So Penn State is one of the better programs now, but when you look at it, they have, seven.
Comparatively, yeah. Yeah.
Yep. 16 is Wisconsin, six BCS bowl appearances, three conference championships. They've also only had two losing seasons. And unfortunately, I think at least one of those is in the last couple of years. Maybe both of them are in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I feel like Wisconsin has been on the downward trend.
Which is unfortunate because OSU legend Luke Fickell's their head coach.
So, oh, really?
Yeah. Auburn is 15. They have five BCS New Year's Six, one natty. 3 conference championships. That shout out to Cam Newton for that natty.
I was like,
Miami,
what natty was that? Did you
yeah,
see my face? I
Cam.
was like, which one is
I
that?
did. Cam Newton.
Oh,
Uh,
Cam Newton. I forgot he
yeah,
went to Auburn.
yep.
I don't know why I keep associating him with Florida.
Because that's where he went to Florida, and then he got in trouble, got kicked off the team, went to Auburn, and won a national championship. He was only at Auburn. He was
Oh,
only at Auburn for 1 year, and they went undefeated and won a national championship.
gotcha. Because I'm like, I feel like I've more associated him with Florida than with Auburn.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I'm not a Cam
Uh,
Newton historian, so
yeah. Number 14 is Miami. They have 5 BCS New Year's Six Bowl appearances, 1 national championship, 4 conference titles, and they have 13 top 10 wins.
oh, love that for
Notre
them.
Dame is number 13. They have 9 BCS New Year's Six, no conference titles because they're not in a conference.
Right.
Um, yes. Florida State is 12. They have 10 BCS New Year's Six, 1 national championship, Jameis Winston, shout out, and
Period.
6 conference titles. Michigan is 11, 9 BCS New Year's Six, 1 national title, 5 conference championships.
Boo.
Florida is 10. They have 9 BCS New Year's Six, 2 national titles, 3 conference championships, and they have 29 top 10 wins. They average
Wow.
a top 10 win a year. And the craziest thing about that number, that's only 6th. Like of every team, it's only 6. There's 5 teams that have more than
More than that.
29 top 10 wins.
Jesus.
Texas is not one of them, but Texas
Well,
is 9th. They have 7 BCS New Year's Six, 1 national title, 3 conference championships.
they won the Natty
USC,
win like early 2010s, right?
earlier than that, it was Vince Young. It was
Oh, Vince Young.
2005.
Okay. I was like,
2005.
I. It's hard to believe that we're 25 years into the 2000s sometimes. Okay, go ahead.
I know, right? Like the fact
Like
that we're even
it's like
doing this is
it's like
insane. Like
causing an
we're
issue.
talking about we're talking about 25 years, and I've been alive for all of it. Like no other time when we're talking about 25 years have I been. It's like, oh, that was before me. No.
That
This
was
is all.
before my time.
This is
No,
all
I lived through
firmly.
all of this.
Yeah, like all of this happened, and most of it happened when I could remember it. Like it was only
Consciously.
5. Yeah,
Yes.
like
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 what? The fact that we can harken back and be like, oh yeah, that was when that team won that championship.
well,
Oh, so and so was on that team. It's like
yeah,
Cam Newton has played college football, played NFL football, and retired to become a podcast dude in all of this time.
he's become a freaking meme. Like, what are we talking
Like
about?
what?
Like,
Oh my god. Okay, I'm sorry.
yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. He's expecting like his 22nd child or something like that. Did you see that?
Brother?
I'm just kidding.
No,
It's not 22. I think it's like I want to say
it's
it's
still
9, but
that's crazy.
yeah, and it's like his second child with this particular person. Yeah.
Okay. USC is number 8. They have 8 BCS New Year's Six Bowl appearances, 2 national titles, 2 championships, 7 conference titles. And they only have 3 losing seasons. Most of those have happened in the last couple
Couple
of
years. Yeah.
Oregon is 7. They have 10 BCS New Year's Six appearances,
Freaking
8
Oregon.
conference titles, and they also only have 2 losing seasons. They
In 25
also,
years?
Yep, they only have 2 losing seasons. Yep, and they have 23 top 10 wins. They're in number 8.
Okay, pause. Because I was talking to somebody about this. I was like, I just feel like Oregon really like fashioned their way into success. Like they just were like, if we change our uniforms, everything will change. And they're a case
They
study
did.
in that.
They
Like
did.
I can't
Yeah,
wait to
yeah.
watch a documentary about the success, the trajectory that Oregon was on once they changed their appearance.
They
'Cause
said, or some like Phil Knight was sitting there and he heard someone say, "Look good, feel good." He said, "Look good,
look
feel
good,
good."
feel good.
Look
I'm gonna take that to the
good,
most extreme
feel
level possible.
Good.
I'm gonna
Bet.
put these niggas in
Lock in.
highlighters, and now they're going to freaking conference championship games. Like what the hell?
Like literally, like Oregon is battling Ohio State and Alabama for the top recruits in the country, and it's all because of
Of aesthetics.
and it's all because of 2010 to 2015 when they had Marcus Mariota and DeAnthony Thomas and all these people. And you know what? I remember it because I watched them too. And I said, "Oh, them boys."
I was drinking the Oregon Kool-Aid too.
It's literally, I'm telling you, if I was an Ohio State fan, there's a chance I could have been an Oregon fan because you're watching it and you're like, boy, they're fast and they look good. that like the highlight.
They're
That's back when
aesthetically
everybody was
pleasing.
making. That's back when everybody was making the YouTube highlight tape for
Yes.
everybody. So you're watching Oregon, you're watching them juke and spin and cut
Oh
all
my God.
up. They
Yes.
run the uniforms, and you like,
They
hey,
were taking over the internet. They
that's
were the
hard.
internet
Yeah,
and then the thing was basketball was it was the same way. Like football obviously was more like high profile, but basketball, it was the same thing. If you turn on an Oregon basketball game, both men's and women's, you're like, damn, that's suited and booted. Like, what is
yeah.
going on
Hey,
here?
they
And one of
hold
my
up.
coworkers, she played lacrosse at Oregon. She just graduated a year or two ago. So she did a presentation recently in one of our work meetings about Oregon and the facilities that they have available for the athletes. Yo, those
Yeah.
facilities are insane. It's
Mm-hmm.
insane. They have like a cleat wall with all of their different like versions of the cleats that they've worn and like all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, bro, the investment, the investment.
Speaking of, this is slightly Oregon, slightly Nike related. I was watching this video of this dude who's like, I played basketball, right? Like I played basketball in college. I'm good. I'm tall, whatever. And it was basically like, I was working at Nike, and they're like, hey, yeah, we play basketball after work. You want to play? And it's like, oh, sure, yeah, I'll play. It's whatever. He's like, I didn't think about the fact that we were in the Nike facility, so I didn't think about the fact that like because they had their own league, and I was like, I didn't think about the fact
Yeah,
that some of the people on this team would be ex NBA players or
used to be
people who
pros. Yeah.
played overseas. And he's like, there's such a difference between playing in college and playing pro at any level. He said, I
Oh
played
yeah.
one game. I was getting dunked on, jumped over. He said, I am never doing this
He's
again.
like, get
He's
me
like,
out of here.
and it was right after my 9 to 5. Like the game started like 5:30, so I literally got off work, laced up my shoes just to get dunked on a Tuesday.
I'm screaming.
uh,
If a lot of you are unaware, the president of basketball at Nike for the last 20 years up until this year, he's now a famous GM. Nico Harrison used to be the president of
Interesting. He
basketball
need to go
at
back.
Nike.
He need to go back.
And and he talked about when I met him some months ago, he talked about how he was one of the few people at Nike that worked his way up. Like he worked at Nike for 20 years and started off as an intern and worked his way up to
Mm.
being the president of basketball. So he's like that story of like if you just come in with a good attitude, stick to it, whatever, blah blah, you can move up. But he has no
If you
experience
come in
in.
with a good attitude and stick to it, you too can trade Luca.
You too can trade Luka Doncic and then win the lottery.
Yeah,
Like,
like that's insane. Nike did that. Nike did
oh
that.
my gosh, we didn't even talk about that, dude. We didn't even talk about. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Um.
Where are we?
Oh,
Number nine, number eight.
we're at 6. Side note: somebody was making. I just saw this. I just saw this quick video. Somebody was like, "Man, you'd need to be like an engineer or something to rig the NBA draft lottery." And someone stitched the video, and he was like, "Look at me. I'm a bad magician. I'm fumbling my cards." And I watched that video and I came up with 10 ways to rig that lottery. Like it's like literally it's like you can ask any magician anywhere. They could rig that lottery. Like they're not gonna tell you the secrets, but it's literally just weighted balls, right? Like some balls weigh heavier than like I'm not even a magician. I can rig the lottery. Like I'm sorry, you can't tell me that listen. I'm not saying it
Oh,
is,
it's so rigged. It's like laughable.
but like
Anytime a team loses
you
a
can't
big
expect
prospect,
me
they
to
win the
believe.
lottery.
You can't tell me to believe. You can't get me to believe that you can't rig it. Like what are you talking about? It's not hard.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I saw a tweet that explained it. It was like after LeBron left the Cavs, they won the
Yes.
lottery. After AD left the Pelicans, they won the lottery.
Yep.
After like it happens all the time. Like
Yeah.
it's something that is like a known pattern in the NBA that typically when a team loses a big prospect or a big player, they end up with a very, very high draft pick after
Somehow,
that.
and a lot of
Yeah.
them had like really rough
Because
seasons. So
it makes no sense for as far as we made it in the season to get the number one pick. It
you had
makes
a
no sense.
1.8 chance, like
We had a
one
one
point
point.
eight percent chance. Like that
I was
never should
I
have
was sitting on the
happened.
couch. I was sitting on the couch. Okay, Denasia and Jordan Lore, because I was sitting on the couch, right? And I got the ESPN because I do not watch the NBA lottery. Are you joking? So
Who is
I
for
got the
what?
ESPN. Who's watching that? Like, realistically, you
Somebody,
ain't got nothing else
but
to do with your time. Like, you just don't have anything else to do. So I was sitting there, I was chilling, I was talking to my friend, and I was like, I looked at my phone and it said Mavericks won the lottery, and I was like, that's not what that says. And I put it back down because I was like, that's not true. And I think you texted me and then you FaceTime me and you were like, bro.
I
And
said
I was like,
Nico's about to get away with it. I was walking to the store and I FaceTimed you.
I was like, what are you doing outside, first of all?
Yeah, like I'm going to the store, but
I was just like, I forgot. You know, I'll be forgetting that people like walk places and other places because like I
you
can't walk
have
to
to
no damn
walk in
Star.
New York.
I know. I'm like in Dallas. Like, where am I walking? Like, I live across the street from a Target, so yes, realistically, I could walk to Target, but I don't
You
shop at
found,
Target.
I'm guessing. I've never been to your house. I get. I'm guessing you have to walk what 4 lanes of traffic, and then the parking lot's huge.
No, like my apartment complex is situated genuinely like right across the street from a
Right,
Target.
but it's not four
So
lanes of traffic.
no, no,
It's
no.
not like
It's like
okay.
it's
It's only
two
two.
lane streets. So I guess it is 4 lanes, but
Yeah,
not
that's
four
four
lanes, one
lanes.
direction.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's what I meant. It's two
yeah,
lane
yeah,
streets. Yeah, I
yeah.
know how it works.
But it's like
4 lanes of
regular street.
traffic. Yeah.
It's not it's like a regular residential street.
Yeah, but
Like
like
walk across.
yeah, but you're from a big city. It's not regular, right? Like there's a lot of places where it's only like two, like one in each direction. Like four is not huge,
Yeah.
especially when your highways are like 8 lanes. But like
Yeah.
walking across 4 lanes of traffic to get somewhere is not ideal. Is what
But
I
it's not
mean.
like traffic. Like I guess that's why I'm like it's 4 lanes, yes, but it's a residential like street.
So
So
there's
it's
not a
not
lot
like
of
popular. Like
cars.
yeah, it's not like a
Uh,
popular
I
street.
just okay. I got
Yeah,
you.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
it's popular because there's a Target right there, but it's not like,
right.
oh my gosh, like cars lined up down the road. Like it's not like that.
I got you.
Anyways, I'm giving you all way too much information about where I live. The point
Yeah.
is,
Start with Target. No.
the
uh,
point is, don't shop at Target.
yeah.
Because the
Clemson.
boycott is actually working.
Hey,
Anyways,
don't let
period.
them tell you. Okay, Clemson is number 6. Clemson
That's not
has
shocking.
10 BCS New Year's Six bowls, 2 national championships, 9 conference titles, 23 top 10 wins, and only 1 losing season.
Only 2 natties?
Mm-hmm. Yep, it's just 2. They've been
Only
there.
2?
They've been. Hold on. Are
They
they
must have
two
been a
and
bunch.
Are they? They're either 2-2 or 2-1. I can't remember. They've been.
Mm.
I know for a fact they've been to 3 because they lost 1 to Bama.
Okay.
But they've either been to 2 or they've been to 3 or they've been to 4. I can't remember exactly, but they
That makes
won
sense.
2.
I'm like, I recall seeing them in the natties more than just 2 times. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Because we're old enough to remember all of this.
Of course. LSU is 5.
Period.
LSU has had 7 BCS New Year's Six, 3 national titles, 5 conference championships, 1 losing season, and they have 37 top 10 wins. And they are 3
Wow.
and top 10 wins. Georgia is number 4. They have 11 BCS New Year's Six. They have 2 national titles, 5 conference titles, and also only 1 losing season.
Period.
Oklahoma is 3rd. They have 7. Yeah, they have 17 BCS New Year's Six bowl games, 1 national title, 13 conference championships, and only 2 losing seasons. They also have a 78.9% winnings percentage, which is 3rd.
Wow.
So the thing with Oklahoma is like, which I'm surprised that you're surprised about that because of where you live. They've never been able to beat like
I
the
hate
top
Oklahoma. I
dogs.
don't pay attention to Oklahoma.
But like they've never been able to beat like the top dogs, right? So they don't have all the natties, but they ran their conference, i.e., 13 national, 13 conference titles.
Yeah.
And basically they were winning 10, 11 games for like years straight. Like not even just like 8, 9. They were winning 10, 11 games, winning the conference. Lincoln Riley went to 3 consecutive playoff appearances. Bob Stoops went to the BCS. So like, yeah.
I'm shocked because I just don't pay attention to OU. Like I said, I had a personal like experience with OU fans that kind of like fully just turned me off of OU.
Yeah.
So,
but
yeah.
the other thing is they have 2 losing seasons, and both of them are in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So for 22 years, they went
were
22
dominating.
straight years without a losing season, and then they've had 2 of the last 3.
Well, period. I love that for them. Apparently, their women's basketball team is looking to elevate. So that's very
And they have
interesting.
like the greatest softball program ever.
Oh my God,
like,
the softball program is ridiculous. Speaking of softball, shout out to Texas Tech. That $1 million is working for them.
Hey, look, shout out. This one is going to surprise you, and this is part of the reason I wanted to go through this. Number 2,
I'm scared.
Alabama.
Well, yeah, because number one is Ohio State, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. I thought it made okay. So it doesn't matter. So Alabama, um, Alabama has 14 BCS New Year's Six bowls, 6 national titles, 9 conference championships. They have 39 top 10 wins, which is number one, and but they've had 3 losing seasons.
Yeah.
And you say, why are they number two and not number one? It's essentially because this is for 25 years, and
Yeah.
for the first couple of years they were awful until Nick Saban got there in 2008.
Yeah. And then they dominated from 2008 to 2025, whereas Ohio State has been dominant longer than that.
Yes.
So,
Just
yeah, that
without
didn't
the
shock me.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so boom, there's that. They have
The
39
Ohio
top 10
State.
wins, which is number one. They have a 78% winning percentage, which is number four. Ohio State is number one. They have 20 BCS New Year's Six bowl games, 3 national championships, 9 conference titles, 1 losing season, and they have a 84% winning percentage.
Yeah, y'all just win more. I mean, that's just how it goes. Like, y'all just win more. That's why I was in shock, because I'm like, Bama, the thing about Bama, I think people always perceive Bama to be the most dominant because they won so many natties, which is great. But Ohio State is winning a lot. They're just not always winning championships. That's the
Yes.
difference.
So essentially,
Which I don't
and
know, which
so
makes. Mm,
well, that's a good thing. So, and I'll just read the paragraph for Ohio State. Only one program has spent nearly the entire century competing at an elite level, and it's not Alabama, which was mediocre for 6 of the 8 seasons before Nick Saban got rolling. Whereas Ohio State has only had 5 seasons out of 25 in which it's won fewer than 10 games, and one of those was an 8-game season in 2020.
mhm.
It's won 3 national championships, played for 3 more, and craziest of all, it has been ranked in the top 25 in nearly 93% of the 411 AP polls since 2000.
I mean, come on.
And so I think this brings up an interesting conversation that I think Ohio State fans have. Would you rather be Ohio State, where you always win, but you average a national championship roughly
Every
one
few
every
years.
2 years? Or would you rather be Bama, where you have 6 or 7 years where you're ass, and then you have six, or LSU is also in this. LSU is
Yeah.
one of those teams that's very up and down.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
LSU coach wins a national championship, and then they suck for a few years, and then they win one. Would you rather deal with the losing years, and then you have like 5, 6, in Bama's case, like 12-ish years of just like absolute greatness, but then boom, as soon as Nick Saban left, they miss the playoffs, they lose 3, 4 games, they get upset? Or would you rather be consistent? You're always going to be one of the best teams, but you don't get the national championship as often as maybe others. And it's an interesting conversation, and I always kind of struggle with where I sit, because like, yes, it would be nice, but also in my lifetime, Ohio State has played in 6 national championships and won 3 of them, and they've had 1 losing season. And that losing season, I don't even remember when that losing season was.
Probably towards the beginning, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think it was towards the beginning. So it's like, I don't know.
I'm going to answer this question thoughtfully. As a Cowboys fan, I have a lot of experience with high hopes and loss, right? So for me, I think, given my perspective of being a fan of a team that has not won a championship since the year that I was born, and probably won't win a championship for another probably 5 years, I have grown very happy with winning and just being a team that wins a lot. Like, realistically, I know that we speak very harshly about the Cowboys, but up until last season, we were winning 10, 11, 12 games a season. We were having good seasons. We were making it to the playoffs. We just weren't making it through the playoffs, right? Which is a whole different issue. But the winning still feels good. So I think I would almost err on the side of, we win a lot. We win a lot.
Yeah.
No, we're not always going to win a championship every time we get there, but we win a lot. And I feel like I would be satisfied with that, because to me, that is what true dominance is. Being the team that everybody's afraid of, being the team that is the one where you're never going to count them out. You're never going to bet against them. I think I would rather be a part of that sort of culture than Because realistically with Bama, and I'm not saying this from a negative standpoint, I'm actually more so speaking from a math standpoint and law of averages. It's going to take some time for Bama to get back to the level of dominance that they had with Nick Saban, if they ever make it to that point, because Nick Saban is a legend. He's one of the best to ever pick up a clipboard and say that he's going to coach football. So Bama may not ever experience that sort of run ever again. And if they do, it's going to be off the back of the culture that was built from that run, if that makes sense. So I don't know. I would rather be a part of a culture that is accustomed to winning in
And you want,
general.
and I agree with you 100%. And you want to know how I know I agree with you?
Because you're a
The
Colts fan.
Indianapolis Colts. When we
Exactly.
had Peyton Manning, I
Exactly.
literally pulled it up. Peyton Manning's first year, they went 3-30. They literally called him 12-4 Peyton Manning because the worst he did was 12-4 most years.
Yeah.
When the Colts had Peyton Manning, they went 3-13 his first year. They went 6-10 his fourth year. Every other year, 13-3, 10-6, 10-6, 12-4, 12-4, 14-2, 12-4, 13-3, 12-4, 14-2, 10-6. He goes to the Broncos, 13-3, 13-3, 12-4. Peyton Manning guaranteed you 12 wins.
12-4.
You were going 12 wins and you were going into the playoffs. He only, in all of his time, he only has 2 Super Bowls, but you always contended. And now, as a Colts fan who's not even making the playoffs, I would kill
To
to
have that
average
again.
11 to 13
Yeah.
games a year, to just know they're
Yeah.
gonna be good, like to just know like we're gonna be there. And if our we play our cards right, it could be our year. And that's
Yeah.
how it is as an Ohio State fan. And yes, the heartbreak hurt, right? When you win one and then you lose two straight and then you don't always get there. But you know it's 10, it's 11 games. And yeah, as a Colts fan, it's just like, I would do anything to get 12-4 back. Like,
Yeah.
we've like, and the thing is, like, we're bad, but we're never bad enough. Because now we're like 8-8, 7-9. So we're getting like the 13th pick. And rarely does pick 13 to 18 change the franchise.
Yeah,
So
of
it's like we're
course.
not getting the number one pick, but we're not going to the playoffs, and it's just like fucking purgatory. So I
It's
agree.
like ass central right there in the middle. Because I would rather be realistically, I'd rather be like one of the worst or one of the best. I don't want to
Yes,
be like in the middle where nothing is happening. We're not going to the playoffs. We're
because
not like that would be like hell,
I mean, think about
like
it,
the
right?
plateau.
The Houston Texans, they were one of the worst for a while. They ended up
Yeah,
getting C.J. Stroud, right? They're
yeah.
and especially in the NFL, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they took their beatings, they took their whippings, and now
First
they're
playoff since 2016.
maybe they're the favorite to win the championship. They have their MVP. They have their young core. Like, you have all these things, and that's why I'm like, I just want the Colts to tank. And like, this is the totally other thing. I'm I'm literally like football terrified because this year and next year are legitimately going to be great for quarterbacks. But again, it doesn't mean they're all going to be good, but this is going to be the best couple years of quarterbacks that we've had in a long
In a
time.
while.
And
Yeah.
I'm terrified that we're going to win like 9 games and we're still not going to be sure about Anthony Richardson, but we're not going to be in the place to draft a good quarterback.
Yeah.
And like, I like Anthony Richardson. I want him to succeed. But if he's not gonna be good, please just be bad. Like, please,
Don't
please.
win games.
Especially like RIP Jim Irsay, but we have a new owner. So if we're bad, we can get a new GM, we get a new coach, we get a new quarterback, and we could start
We could,
fresh
yeah, cut
in
it. Yeah. Yeah.
2026. And I'm so terrified that fucking Daniel Jones is going to take us to like
This is going to
nine
be
and
the one
eight
season.
or something. And we're going to make the playoffs. And then we're going to be at like pick 18. And all the quarterbacks are going to be gone. And we're going to be sitting there fucking twiddling our thumbs. Just
Bro,
like, God, no Arch Manning. I don't even like Arch Manning. but Peyton
we'll
Manning,
take
Arch
him.
Manning? What are you talking? Like, right? Like, Francisco Mendoza? Can we get Lenore Sellers? Can we get Patrick Mahomes Jr.? I take him.
Who
He's
is
not going to be
Patrick
as
Mahomes Jr.?
good. You ever seen those jokes?
No.
Dylan Rayola, the
No.
quarterback for Nebraska. Oh my god, I have to send it to you. The quarterback for Nebraska. He's like a light skinned, like taller quarterback, and so he just copies Patrick Mahomes. He wears number 15. He got that weird ass mohawk. He does Patrick
Patrick
Mahomes.
Mahomes cut it off because it's
I
nappy. Let's
know,
not
I
forget.
know. Which brings me to another point, but he does like before games, he does Patrick Mahomes warm up, like his whole warm up. And me and Dante were talking about it on literally the last episode, and we were like, okay, does he or does he not cut his hair now that Patrick Mahomes cut his hair? I'm gonna send you some videos so you can laugh
That
about it.
is
But yeah,
so funny. Speaking of OKC, though, I don't think they're winning a championship this year.
You think it's Indiana?
I think, I think, I think the championship winner is in the East. Whether it's the Knicks or the Pacers,
Hmm.
I think is still up for debate because I don't think that the Knicks are going to let the Pacers smack them up like this, even though they're up
Anymore?
2-0. Yeah, like I don't think they're going to allow that to happen. And if they can win the two games in Indiana, or at least one of those games in Indiana, and take it back to New York, I think we're going to a game seven at that point. First of all, both of these conference finals are going to game seven. But the thing about is OKC is too young to win a championship. Number one. Number two, I also feel like when you play this well throughout the series, that's typically when things start to break down, is around
Mm.
the finals. And also, I firmly believe that no team that is worth anything is winning a championship within their first year. There has to be an experience of almost like collective heartbreak first before
Mm.
they come out and actually win. That's why Boston won the way that they did, because they experienced that collective heartbreak so many times. So I
And
think OKC needs to have that one moment where it's like, we made it to the mountaintop and we did not get there. And then they're going to come back the next year and just
yeah, which
take
is
over.
interesting because I'm not counting out the Minnesota because Minnesota
Oh,
had that
me
heart.
neither. Me neither.
Minnesota had that heartbreak last year.
They did exactly. They have the collective heartbreak, and then the thing about Minnesota, and this is what makes it so frustrating, is with OKC being up 2-0, is the fact that Julius Randle is playing the best basketball that he's ever played in his fucking life. In
Crazy.
his life, AE is having some weird stuff going on. He's had some ankle tweaks. He's had some. So I feel like he just hasn't been able to really get into the game the way he wants to. Rudy Gobert is having a good season. He's not fouling out and doing all the other extra stuff that sometimes usually happens with him. And then the other pieces. Why do I always want to call him Najee? That's not his name. Naz Reid, all the other guys. So I feel like with the Timberwolves, once they're back home, the OKC should be scared. OKC should
Yeah.
be very, very scared. So, but either way, that's why I'm saying, like, I do think the champion is from the East this year. I don't think the champion is from the West, because I also don't think either team is ready in the West. I don't like, but I still to this day can't say, oh, it's going to be the Timberwolves and the Knicks. I don't know. I
Yeah.
really don't know who it's going to be right now.
I just hope it doesn't continue in this blowout fashion. That's
Yeah,
well,
it's going
the
to.
Pacers isn't blowing. Those games aren't blowouts.
They're
They're
catching
just
up. Yeah,
up
yeah,
2-0. But yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Shout out
So
to Tyrese
any
Halliburton, man.
yeah hooping. What the hell? What the hell, Burton? What the hell, Cyrus?
Okay, thank you so
What
much.
the
I'm
hell
going to get
on
off the.
James? Okay. So
Oh, Lotto
any
said, "What the Missy Elliott?" And that's when I was like, "I have to check out of
that's
this."
yeah. Do you have any last thoughts about the top 25 programs of the 21st century, or shall we go to our 2 minute warning and wrap it up?
I wish SMU was in. I'm just kidding. I'm
The
kidding.
next 25 years.
Right, right, right,
you
right,
know?
right. Next, the
Um,
next 25 years. Um, no, that's dope. I love data crap like that. Like I'm a nerd in that way.
yeah.
So that's
I've
really,
been
really
reading
dope.
all of them.
Yeah,
I even read the baseball one, and I didn't like. I have no opinion on baseball
yeah.
because I watch enough to know what the Yankees are doing, but I don't watch enough to be able to like. This is the best second baseman of the last 25 years.
What is the
So
second baseman?
I just
Sorry.
read it. I just read it to like read it just because I was like 25 top 25. Yeah, like I read all of the top 75 player stuff that the Athletic was doing. I disagreed with a lot of it, but like everything.
Not I
And then they
disagreed.
if you like data, I may need to send this to you. I don't know if you saw it. They did a goat debate, but they did it based on data alone,
Oh my god,
and
yes.
then they ranked them. That was interesting. So yeah, but okay. So 2 minute warning. You can go first, and then we're gonna just end the show on a negative
I
note.
know. Wait, no. Oh God. Okay. So, because I have so many things to say about yours. Mine is very, very simple. I was talking about this on the last show. Also, thanks for sticking with us, guys. We knew we took a week off because somebody was busy. Celebrating his wife, obviously. But anyways, I mentioned on the last episode that I was really, really determined to log on to that damn internet on May 6th and May 15th and get my damn A1s. And I got them. And I'm very, very excited about it. I went the first drop sold out in 3 minutes. So that was just not even something that I was even going to be able to participate in. But the first drop was only for the pink A1s. The second drop, which was May 15th, was for the pearls and the indigo girls. If you don't know what that is, it's the colorways. Pearl is all white. Indigo girl is the ones that's like blue, all the different shades of blue. I got indigo girl. Shout out to my small feet. I got to get them in youth sizes because the adult sizes sold out, but the youth sizes were still available. So yeah, I got my shoes. I ordered them online. I picked them up at the Nike store. I've worn them once already. Great shoe. Honestly, No notes. It is a great shoe. I personally would not have been able to play basketball in them because I need shoes with ankle support. But if you like to play basketball in a low top shoe, I actually would genuinely suggest that you try out the A1s because they're a nice, lightweight, bouncy shoe that would really actually aid in performance because they feel like an extension of your foot. So if you're on the market for a basketball shoe, I really actually do highly suggest the A1s. If you're on the market for a cute shoe to wear, out to your summer parties, I also would suggest the A1s because I've gotten lots and lots of compliments. So I'm very happy. Thank you so much, Asia Wilson.
Yes, shout out. I need to get me a pair at some point, but I haven't spent money on shoes in a very long time, and it's heartbreaking. As you
I
can see,
haven't
the
either.
shoes behind me, and
Period.
unfortunately for Asia Wilson, my next pair of shoes will not be hers. I
Um.
have some shoes that are deep down in my bag that I need to buy that I haven't gotten in a while. So,
Oh, and
but I will be
yes,
getting a pair for sure.
the price point is $90 for the youth size and 110 for the adult size, which I think is pretty fair considering Nike prices. So if you're on the market for a shoe, I highly suggest it. I also will say size down because I did have to take my shoes back because I got a five and a half in youth and it was too big. And I'm normally a 5.5 in youth because that's a size 6. But I had to size down. So be aware that the shoes weren't big.
Yes. Okay.
Period.
Let me take a deep breath.
You should get yourself a pair of A1s though. So I would really love to know what shoe you're getting instead of an A1. Now we have to talk about that for just a moment. I'm going to get the UNC Jordans.
I don't know what I'm getting, but I've so far. So here's the thing: it's gonna depend on when I have the money for them because there are a couple pairs of shoes that are coming out that like I've wanted for a long time. Like the Taxi 12s. I have the reverse taxis and they're stupid.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're
Um,
speaking a language I don't speak. Keep
okay.
going. I'm just going to look
The
them up.
taxis are they're black and white
Well,
12s.
obviously. Oh,
The reverse taxis. Are you looking at the regular taxis?
I don't know. Which one's the reverse ones?
Is the black is where's the black at?
It's all black. All black with touches of yellow. And then I see all white with a little bit of like black on the toe and touches of gold.
Hold on.
Hold on. Oh, wait. I'm looking at the right ones because it's mostly white with black on the bottom, right?
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
those are the taxis. Okay. So the
Okay.
reverse taxis are you reverse it and it has the white on the bottom, which is fucking stupid because it gets dirty.
Dirty. Yeah.
I bought
Yeah.
I bought the reverse taxis because I wanted them and I needed a black and shoe and I couldn't get the taxis. But it's just dumb because they're dirty and you can only clean 12 so much because of whatever's on the sole. Like sometimes it flakes a little
Yeah.
bit.
The
And so it's
reverses are
just
nice though.
they are, but it's just dumb that the white's on the bottom, and so they just get dirty. And so, like, I want so ultimately it depends because there's a couple pairs of shoes that are coming out this year that if I have the money when they drop, I'll be getting those. If it's not, if I'm just getting regular shoes, I need I don't know. It just depends. It just depends on when
Yes.
it releases, but I will be getting those for sure.
Period.
Okay, so
Down with the one more thing. Down with the shoe resale market. Okay, StockX.
it's
Y'all
it's dying. It's dying.
y'all deserve jail time. For the resale prices of the A1s alone, you people deserve
Yeah.
jail time.
You want to know what's my favorite thing? They tried to gentrify shoes and it worked for a little bit. And then some of them were like, oh my God, why can I get these shoes in the shoe store? And it's like, because that's what's supposed to happen with shoes. I'm sorry you didn't start buying shoes until hype beast culture, but like I grew up when you can get Jordans and
You
shoes. Like
went to the store and you stood in line.
and the thing that killed me about the shoe selling culture was when it was like, we're reselling dunks?
Dunks.
Like
For
like like
three
like
hundred
like like,
dollars.
like, like we're reselling dunks.
For
Like
300
that.
and $400.
You lost your fucking mind. Like that's when it
Crack.
like come on. Like
Crack.
okay, all right. The newest pair of ones, the UNC ones, cool. Right. The tax, cool. Right. The gamma 13s or whatever. Like all right, fine.
A hundred
The
dollar pair of
the
dunks.
Space Jam 11s, okay. Dunks.
$100 pair of dunks. The black and white ones.
I
Don't
smack the
piss
shit out of
me
everybody.
off.
Like, I smack the shit out
Do
of
not
everything
piss me
right
off. Because
now.
there's some special edition dunks too, right? Okay,
Yeah,
fine. You do the special
I'll
edition
still
because I think
rock
there's
with
like a
it. Yeah.
yellow and gold one, a yellow and green one that's for certain
Yeah,
schools. Whatever. Like,
there's the Ben and Jerry's, like
yeah,
there's
like
the
okay,
special
fine.
ones.
But a regular ass
The
black
way they
and
did
white dunk.
pandas, bro, that was so crazy. The pandas are the black and white ones. That's the ones you're talking about. The
Yeah,
way they
yeah, the
did the
pandas.
pandas, oh my god, bro.
I was just like, what the hell? Everybody deserves jail time. You guys are all horrible
Straight to.
people.
I mean, Parks and Rec. Have you at least seen like the straight to jail, like that meme?
Uh-uh.
Okay, then you won't get it. But for the people who do get it, $200 dunks straight to jail.
Straight to jail.
Resale, like the fact that forces are like $120 now, straight to jail, straight to jail
Do not
immediately.
pass go.
Like
You don't get your $200. Take your
yeah,
ass to jail, and you don't get to roll doubles to get out either. You got to
no.
pay to get out of jail.
Look, I'm gonna send
Like,
you the meme so you know what I'm talking about. Okay, but let's wrap this
okay,
up.
sorry, prison,
Oh
honey,
God,
prison.
I'm going to try. Speaking of prison, no, I'm just kidding. It's not
No,
that bad.
speaking of
But
who deserves to be in prison.
close. If you have listened to me,
Oh no, okay.
you know for an absolute fact that I do not like RG3.
Oh my God,
I
can't stand
have
them.
been saying it for years, and I would like to say again, I am never wrong, just early. There were people who, especially just being true, if you weren't black, you didn't fully understand the RG3 thing because so much of it was about how he was talking and the jokes that he would make and the things that he would say. And my biggest thing is just like, it's so inauthentic. I remember you in college. Speaking of the last 25 years, I remember you in college. I
Hello?
remember you in the NFL. I remember you before you had a mic. I know how you dressed. I know how you did your hair. I know how you talked. And then you got in that booth and that was not you. And it was so freaking pandering and borderline racist. Like, I know black people
His
can't be
jokes
black,
were never
can't
funny.
be. It's just like, it's literally, it was a caricature. It was a caricature. It was a black dude who went up there and said, this is what a black person would talk like.
Yeah.
And
It's
so,
very Emmanuel Achu coded. Anyways, go
yes.
ahead. Sorry.
But,
Let me not talk about him. He's not a part of
and
this.
so, didn't like him. Been saying this for a while, and some people got it, some people didn't. And never wrong, just early, because now he is revealing himself in the worst way possible over Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. And Ryan Clark, I am a huge Ryan Clark fan. Ryan Clark is so, and I hate saying this because this is such a bad compliment for black people, but I'm not saying it. He's so eloquent. He's like, I strive as someone who talks in my job, who talks on a podcast, and who wants to be a professor. I strive to be half as good with my words as he is.
Oh,
He
Ryan
always
Clark.
gets his point across.
He wraps stuff up so well.
Great. Perfect. And his hair is. So Ryan Clark.
Well, we got to start from the beginning.
Only his way goes off on RG3 because RG3 has essentially for years been attacking Angel Reese on behalf of Caitlin Clark. The most recent thing that he did is he goes on his podcast with his white wife.
No, he did something before that.
What?
So for WNBA opening weekend, of course, the first game of the year was a Chicago Sky Indiana Fever game because they're trying to force this rivalry that doesn't exist. Caitlin Clark got a flagrant foul against Angel Reese. Angel Reese was not very happy about the foul that occurred, and so she kind of bucked up to Caitlin. There was a little bit of whatever, and everybody moved on. They both said it was a basketball play. Let's not worry about it, blah, 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 blah. But as everybody knows, anytime something happens between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, everybody's got to pull out their dissertation topics. Right after that happened, RG3 tweeted, and I quote, "After watching Caitlin Clark's flagrant foul on Angel Reese and the aftermath, there is no way Angel Reese can continue the lie that she doesn't like Caitlin Clark. I know what hatred looks like. Angel Reese hates, in all caps, Caitlin Clark. Not some basketball rivalry here either. Hate." And he tweeted that the same day as the flagrant foul had happened, and that tweet received about 7 million views by the next day. And then Ryan Clark was responding to that because RG3 then decided to argue with other individuals on the internet as to why it was important that this flagrant foul was proof somehow that Angel Reese hated Caitlin Clark. So he argued with Des Bryant. He argued with what's her name? Jamel Hill. He argued with a lot of people that day.
And part of the thing that, especially the clip that I focused on that RC was talking about, was an older clip when Angel was talking about how she is also one of the people who has helped contribute to the boom of women's sports, specifically the WNBA. And he goes on his podcast, and Angel is just talking. just talking like me and you, and he goes on his podcast and he starts to add things. He adds tone. He starts doing his neck and pointing his finger and all of this
Mm-hmm.
stuff to make it sound aggressive and ghetto and all of these things, right? And his wife is in the background and she's like clapping and all this stuff, and he's dogging Angel and doing all of this stuff, literally dog whistle racism. Angel is
Mm-hmm.
not rolling her neck and all of these like these old
And if she
stereotypes of
was, that would be
black
a
women.
perfectly fair
Right.
expression.
So he's adding all of these things and doing this finger pointing and like adding tone and stuff. And so Ryan Clark basically read him for filth, and basically the synopsis of what Ryan Clark is basically saying is, you are a black man who feels that he has to talk negatively about black women to big up the choice that you made to have a white wife. You literally, you look at his Instagram, you look at his Twitter, you look at his jokes, you look at his Halloween costumes, his whole personality is milk. And one of the things that I like that Ryan Clark said, he's like, I've met your wife. I've had a
She's a
conversation with
nice
her.
lady.
I think that she's more than the color of her skin. And you refer to her as milk, posting memes talking about Super Saiyan Milkman, and he's like, and multiple people have said this, like when he worked at ESPN, he just kept emphasizing how much he likes milk and how important it is and all these things. And so and he's like, because you have a white wife, you are not having conversations at home about what black women have to go through and racism and all of these sort of things. And so you come on this podcast and you put her, it was like you put your wife behind you as a part of your trophy case. You have all of your trophies and then your white wife, and it doesn't even make sense that she's behind you while you're doing this podcast.
Not at
And you're
all.
talking and you're doing all these things, you're adding all this stuff, and you keep attacking. And it's just like, and it's like, he was basically just like, I just want RG3 to know that no matter what he does, no matter what he says, he's always going to be as black as me. And so RG3 goes on this thing. He tries to get ESPN involved. He makes all this stuff. He's like, nobody talks about, wow, you don't add another man's wife to it. He tried to play the victim while he is aggressively attacking Angel Reese on behalf of Caitlin Clark and white women everywhere. He then tries to play the victim and tries to make it this whole thing that RG3, that Ryan Clark never said. And I just want, never wrong, just early. I'm glad that he's outing himself as the who I always thought he was. I'm
The
glad that
weirdo.
people are finally starting to see it because, like, and I don't feel I need to say this, but to be clear, there is nothing wrong with interracial marriage. But whether you were dating someone white, black, Asian, East Asian, South Asian, Mexican, Hispanic, whatever, if your entire reason for dating them is the color of their skin, that's weird. If
That's
you're like, I
fetishization.
got me a light skinned girl with green eyes, I got me milk, I got me this, I got me like fetishizing, and it's insane. And then to take that and to make sports opinions, quote unquote, and to put your hatred and your other things on Angel Reese, right? And to make her, as a black woman who already has to deal with this, to make her seem more violent and angry, to use the word hate on a dark skinned black woman, and to start it with talking about Caitlin Clark's flagrant foul, Caitlin's flagrant
Caitlyn
foul,
fouled her.
Caitlin's flagrant foul, not Angel's, Caitlin's
Caitlyn.
flagrant foul.
How does
And
Angel
then
still
to
be the
turn
how is
that on
Angel still the
Angel.
villain in that?
And so it's crazy. And the last thing I have to say about this before I get really worked up and start really talking about him is I saw something that just stuck to, and I wish that, hold on, I wish that I could like remember who said it, but it was so interesting to me. And they said one of the worst things about RG3 and this thing with Angel Reese is that if there is any athlete in the last 10 to 20 years who should be able to
Who
relate
knows what she's
with
going
Angel
through?
Reese, it should be RG3.
Oh
Because
my god.
RG3 was the black quarterback who was denigrated, who was talked bad, who say they said he couldn't play quarterback
Not
in meetings,
traditional.
not traditional, all of these racist dog whistles because he was going toe to toe with a white quarterback, a white player at the same position at the same time who people thought was better. And that player was Andrew Luck. And so a lot of racists jumped out the woodwork to hate on RG3 to prop up Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was the better quarterback, but RG3 was
Was
great.
good.
He was good. And
He was
they did
fantastic.
the racist dog whistle, he's black, he can't, he doesn't have the processing power, he should play wide receiver, all of these things, right? And so you, of anyone, you did the same thing. A black player, a white player, similar sport, at the same time, same draft class, and every time they talked about the black player, they made them angry and they talked about their skill and they couldn't do this and they couldn't do that and they hyped up the white player. And you experienced that more than anyone directly with Andrew Luck. And so then for you to turn around after you, and he's like, it just tells me that RG3 forgot where he came from. For
I don't
you
think
to
he
go
knows. Fuck
and then
forgetting. I don't
to
think he's aware.
immediately turn around and do the same thing to someone else is it's insane for any black man to do it. But for RG3, who legitimately went through this same thing for years, that is insane. And I would say it's disappointing, but it's not because I knew who he was. Never wrong, just early. I do not like him. I never want to see him on my TV again. I hope he never gets a job again. And I hope one day his white wife realizes that he doesn't like her and only likes the fact that she's white and leaves him and takes him for half. That's fucking insane.
So here's where I'm at on it. I am just genuinely confused when people have discourse about Angel and Caitlyn. That's not productive. Like, at this point, okay, because we're 3 years into this fake rivalry. What were you trying to accomplish by tweeting that specific thing? What were you trying to accomplish? Because he also was trying to defend himself in his podcast and say, "Oh, I'm just giving my sports opinion." There was nothing about sports in that. There was nothing about the game of basketball when you are implying that someone hates someone else. Because I want to be clear, making the implication that either one of these women hate each other when they have very clearly told us that they do not hate each other is, to me, at this point, you are stoking a fire that you know is going to get you clicks and views.
Yes.
Because it has been made very clear that they don't have any animosity towards one another. They're just competing with each other. I also really feel like this conversation is continuously getting disingenuous because they play two different positions, which is why, for me, you will never be able to convince me that this is a rivalry that is based on anything other than racism. Because that's the other thing that we have to be so very, very cognizant of, is that this particular rivalry, much like Magic and Larry, because people make this comparison for a lot of reasons, but they rarely ever make it for this one. That rivalry was also built on racism. Okay,
I mean, they
it was.
literally called him the Great White Hope.
Thank you. That rivalry was also built on racism, just as much as it was a skill thing and they played similar positions and all those other things. That rivalry was very heavily built and pushed on racism, and that is the same thing that is happening. And the unfortunate part of it is that it's built on racism and misogynoir. It's built on both because these are women. So at this point, as a person in the media, it is incredibly irresponsible to indicate anything about those women's personal feelings towards one another because you know people are going to latch on to that and just take it as far as they fucking can. Caitlin Clark's fan base has shown us that they are the most unhinged fan base that we have seen since the Barbs. Okay? So, with that being said, tell me what about that was an actual sports opinion. That was not an actual sports opinion.
And if you were going to make a sports opinion based on the video, the only thing that you could say is that Caitlin Clark hates Angel Reese. As the like that was not, and they both said
That
the
would be
right
a better
thing.
conclusion, which I also don't like.
And
We need to stop saying that
it's
these women
wrong.
hate each other.
It is very wrong. But if you were going to say anything, that would be the one. Because the thing is, they both said it's a basketball play because they knew if they said anything different, how it would blow up.
The
But
internet,
it wasn't a
yes.
basketball play. It was
No, it was a flagrant foul.
retaliatory. It
It
was
was a
retaliatory.
flagrant foul.
But no, not even that it was a flagrant foul.
Oh yeah, retaliatory
Legitimately
on Caitlin's part.
retaliatory
Yeah.
because Angel put in a basketball move, pushed someone to get a rebound. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
called. It could have been a hands to the back. It wasn't called. And
Mm-hmm.
Caitlin saw her grab the ball, looked at her teammate, and ran at her and fouled her. It
And
was
fouled her.
retaliatory. It wasn't
Yeah,
in the
which is the same thing, by the way, that Kennedy Carter did to her the year prior. Okay, if we want to keep it real, because I am very, very sick and tired of the overall narrative being that Caitlin Clark is walking onto these basketball courts and is completely innocent in everything that she does. That is absolutely impossible. And I really implore you to go and actually watch that girl play basketball. She plays very violently and she gets a
and
whistle
that's
like
totally
I have
fine. That is
never
totally
seen in my
fine.
life. But she does, is that's the point I'm saying, is she does not know. She's a shooter. She don't know how to play defense. I'm just going to keep it real. You know, another shooter who's really great doesn't know how to play defense. He just learned. Steph Curry, okay? A lot of the good shooters cannot play defense. Caitlin Clark doesn't play defense. She just slaps hoes. That's what she does. So also, I want to be clear because I do have context on this. The player that Angel Reese pushed was Natasha Howard. Natasha Howard had been hacking at Angel and Camilla the entire game, but for some reason, when people walk into the Fever Stadium specifically, their whistle is diabolical. I've never seen it in my life. Their whistle is crazy. So when I say Natasha was pushing hoes over, moving screens, slapping arms, pushing in the back, she was doing it all game. So when Angel pushed her in the back, I'm not trying to be funny, but that was par for the course of the physicality that had been established in that particular game. Yeah, don't get me in my bag because I will.
Listen,
That was already established in that game that was a level of physicality that Natasha Howard specifically was playing with. And at the end of the day, Caitlin Clark, you don't have a striped jersey on. You have on a red jersey that says Fever across it. You are not an official. If they don't want to call something, you don't get to look at them crazy and be mad and then force them to call what you want them to call. You don't get to do that. And that's why you got a fucking flavor one, because you're doing too fucking much. Sorry. You're doing too fucking much. If she didn't get called for that foul, who are you to then go and potentially injure her by pushing her over like that?
right.
Because the physicality of the game was very, very high. The refs weren't calling much of anything. So if they didn't want to call that push in the back on Natasha Howard because they felt like that was not something worth calling, who the fuck are you? But to be a coon and come on the internet and say, oh, well, actually, this proves that Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. I'm gonna knock them ugly glasses off your fucking face, dude. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Especially when you know Angel Reese is gonna get hate regardless. That's the other thing. Angel Reese is gonna get hate regardless because people are racist and weird, and they're using her as a target for their racism. Why would you, as a black man, come on the internet and make a black woman more vulnerable? That makes no sense
At all.
And honestly, I live for the internet because the thing about Ryan Clark is having a conversation that is going over a lot of people's heads, and that's why people are mad. Because Ryan Clark understands nuance and he speaks with a lot of it. So a lot of people were looking at it like, he's talking about RG3's wife. No. He's talking about the nuance of being a self-hating black person, which is what
Yes.
RG3 is. And
And
he's talking about
and he's
go ahead.
talking like he's there. There's a couple. Speaking about nuance, there's a couple pieces that people are ignoring. Right? He's ignoring the piece where he says, "Again, I've met your wife. I think she's a nice person. She is more than the
Then
color
her
of her
skin.
skin." That is defending her. And then he's talking about the fact that you have her in the back of your video in front of your trophy case, like she is a trophy.
Trophy.
Like we've never heard the term trophy wife, which is not a compliment to the woman
At all.
ever.
At all. So
So in all of this, he is defending and putting more concern into RG3's wife than RG3 is, because all he does is talk about her and call her milk
and
as an
objectify her.
accomplishment that
Oh
he
my
was able to
God.
get a white woman.
And it's like, that's what's so frustrating is now he wants to act like a victim now and say that Ryan Clark brought his family into it. You brought your family into it by having her sitting behind you when she wasn't offering anything to the conversation. She was just sitting there. So you brought this into this situation. Ryan was
And
only speaking
no one does podcasts with anyone sitting behind them.
in
No
the
one
back. Are
does
you
that.
joking? Ryan
Like,
Clark was just saying the quiet part out loud, and because you don't have the understanding, because you're fucking thick as fuck, you don't have the understanding of what Ryan Clark is operating at a higher vibration. And what's irritating is Ryan Clark did unfortunately have to submit an apology to RG3. It just broke about 3 hours ago that he did apologize to him for speaking about his wife. And I'm sorry, I don't think he
I
needs to
wouldn't have
apologize.
apologized.
I don't think he needs to fucking apologize because he didn't say anything overwhelmingly negative about RG3's wife, but I guess the way that it turned out is that it turned into a lot of hate going towards RG3 and his family, and so he's more so apologizing that he made them a target. But
I still wouldn't issue the apology because RG3 hasn't apologized to Angel.
and that's the thing. I'm like, you done victimed so hard that you got an apology out of this man, and you still a bitch at the end of the day. Sorry.
And RG3 made me agree with Stephen A. Because
Don't ever make me agree with Stephen A. Oh
Stephen
my,
A was talking about, he's like, you knew what you did when you put ESPN into that. Because
thank
he was
you.
talking about that on his own podcast, and you know you got fired at ESPN, and you worked at ESPN, and you know how ESPN don't pay attention to nothing that's going on until their name is brought in it. And so now ESPN has to look and be like, oh, what's wrong for our brand? So you not only did that, you dog whistled another black man to his employer on his own private entity to try to get him in trouble.
It's just ghetto all the way around. And honestly, It's and so I was on the internet obviously when this is happening, so I'm not gonna lie, the internet is there's some moments on the internet that are top tier. One of my favorite moments on the internet was when old boy was knocking folks out with a chair at the boat. You know what I'm talking about? That's
Yeah.
one of my favorite times on the internet. That was a good time. That day after Ryan Clark talked about the milk jokes and the internet kept pulling up old RG3
All
tweets
of
about
them.
milk.
Literally,
the
they're
internet
everywhere.
the internet is such a great place to be.
Almost,
So
almost anytime he talks about his wife, like just random stuff,
no, he
like
literally was
literally
holding his baby and
super,
was like, "Oh, she doesn't want chocolate milk today," or something like that. I'm like, "Ew, shut
yeah.
up."
Like freaking bro's talking about like Super Saiyan Milkman, like all it's just weird. It's weird, and then you take this platform as a black man and you go and you don't talk about her game. You don't talk about her as a basketball player. You add emotion and the finger
BS.
pointing and add tone and anger and all of these things to something that didn't happen.
It's so unfortunate, and I hate this so bad for both Angel and Caitlyn. Honestly, I hate it more for Angel,
Yes,
but these are two young
because at the
women.
end of the
Oh, go ahead.
at the end of the day, Caitlyn is not doing enough to speak out against this.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we're gonna be here for another 20 minutes because I was just talking to my best friend about this. I'm like, I'm at a point. I don't even know if I want to say this on the internet yet, but I'm at a point where she's complicit at this point.
Silence is
It's been
always complicit.
it's been 3 years.
It's not out of silence is always complicit. I'm sorry if your homeboy's beating the fuck out of his girlfriend and you're not doing
You're not
anything,
saying
you're
anything.
allowing it,
You're a part of
right?
it, and I
Like
just can't.
silence is complicit.
I just can't believe because my friend he goes, it'd be crazy if Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese were actually like besties and they're like on FaceTime every night, like, girl, you see this
They could
crazy stuff,
never
whatever, blah blah
be.
blah. And I said the only reason why I have a hard time believing that is because I have a hard time believing that Angel would be friends with someone who would allow their fan base to treat her like that. And I'm not sitting here saying that Caitlin Clark has control over her fans. I'm not saying that,
But
but
she
to
has
me,
control over
if
what she says and what she
what
allows
she
in her
says
name.
and the amount of times that and people said, oh well, she said that she doesn't like her name being used that way. Yeah, in a sit down interview with Time and on My Next Guest with David Letterman, no one's watching that. When you are standing in press on the practice court and they are asking you about it, that is when you stand there and you say, it is absolutely deplorable to use my name in that way. I do not like that. I do not appreciate it. I do not want my fans speaking about Angel in that way. It's not fair. She has
And
not
you
said anything like that in the
and you
press,
and you do it every time you get the
and you do it
chance to.
every time, every chance that you get, you
Because
tell them you don't like that shit. And the fact that you have not done that, and you buddy best friends with Dave Portnoy, who is famously known for calling Angel a piece of shit, fuck you. I'm so sorry. Because there's
and
no way that you just don't agree with it, but you have nothing to say about it too. That means the girl is from Iowa, so
and
child.
here's the thing, right? Caitlin Clark is not the only white WNBA player. You know whose name doesn't get used like that?
Sabrina
You
Ionescu,
know whose name doesn't get used like that?
Stewie,
Stewie. You know whose name
Sue
doesn't get used
Bird,
like
Diana
that?
Taurasi,
Kelsey Mitchell, Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Megan Rapinoe. If we want to switch sports, right?
Elena
Uh,
Deladon,
Cam Brank's name doesn't get used like that. They're in the same draft
Kelsey
class.
Plum,
Like Lexi Hall just had disgusting rumors about her, but it's never about race.
Sophie Cunningham. Well, Sophie
It's
Cunningham is MAGA Barbie, but we ain't gonna get into that right now.
it's like, so why is it always Caitlyn? It's because and the thing is,
It's
right?
because she lets them.
And it's as simple as that. It's because they feel like she agrees with them, whether she does or not. I won't put that on her, but they feel like
I'm putting
she
it on her.
agrees with them, and that they allow it to happen. Because if you would do that in the name of Cam Brink, if you would do that in the name of Stewie, if you would have did that in the name of Megan Rapinoe and Sue
If
Bird
you
and
do it in the
Diana
name of
Taurasi,
Paige,
if you do it in
Paige
the
ain't
name of
finna let you do that
Paige,
shit.
they're all going to say something.
They're all gonna be like, get the fuck out of here. You do not know what you're talking about. And that's why for me, I'm like, this is what's gonna make me not fuck with Caitlyn. And it's going to be because you're not being strict enough on these people. And I said this on the internet last year. People were like, no, she said something. Y'all just aren't paying attention.
Silence is
That's the
complicity.
problem. If she
Also,
really said something for real, and she was aggressive about it, and she was like, do not use my name this way, it would be all over the internet. It would be on every single news platform. If she really stood up
as
and said, do not do that.
as someone who watched the full video, the one clip where she said it at the practice court where they're talking about it, she was asked 4 times by a black reporter who would not let her ignore it. That's the thing. They clipped the final time when she was clearly frustrated and she said,
When
I don't
she
like it when
finally
you use
answered
my
it.
name like that. He asked the question 4 times, 4 different ways, and she ignored it every time. He forced her to say
To
it.
answer. She also said recently, I want to be very clear because I pay attention to the words that the young lady says. She said it has no place in this game. She didn't say she didn't like it or she didn't want it to happen or nothing. Like she just said it has no place in the game. And that is a very, very specific choice of words that I feel like we're not paying
Mm-hmm.
enough attention to. If we want to break down every single thing that Angel Reese says, I'm paying very close attention to what she said. She said it has no place in the game, which is true. It has no place in the game. But she didn't say nothing about society. She didn't say nothing
Life.
about herself. She didn't say nothing about nothing. She just said it has no place in the
Didn't
game,
say
which
nothing
lets me
about her
know
boyfriend and her
her boyfriend, her
father,
brother, her
liking
daddy,
the
everybody.
tweets, retweeting them, all of that
Thank you.
stuff.
So, with that being said, you agree? Because even Beyonce herself, who never talks to us, addressed the Beehive. You remember when she went to a Lakers game and she looked at that lady crazy and the Beehive was sending death threats to her? I don't
No.
know if you know. There was a point where Beyonce went to a basketball game. She was sitting courtside. There was a lady who was sitting next to her. I don't remember what she did, but Beyonce looked at her crazy. And the Beehive did too much. And the lady ended up getting off the internet. She like because they figured out who she was. They doxed her. They did all these things. Beyonce herself said, "What you're not gonna do is that." So if Beyonce can come off her throne and talk to these crazy people and tell them to chill out and stop using her name to be hateful, you, Caitlin Clark, lady who runs around with an orange piece of rubber, can do the same thing. And I'm just gonna leave it like that.
Never wrong, just early. RG3 has showed himself. I was never going to like him, but I'm glad that other people are finally seeing it in other ways. And
I was never gonna like him as sending me.
I can tell. You can always tell with these people. You can
I
always
can't
tell.
stand I can't stand those types of guys. I'm not saying everybody who's black has to be like pro black, obsessed in love with our blackness, but like you are never going to convince me that I need to respect somebody who acts like
But
that in regards to it.
but here's the thing. You know who else has a white wife? SGA.
That
You know
was
what
new.
he just
I
did?
just found that out 2 days ago.
You know what he just did? He talked glowingly
Oh,
of
it was
his
so
wife,
sweet. I
right?
wanted to cry. It was
But you
so
know what
sweet.
he didn't do? He didn't say, my white wife helped me win this MVP and another black woman wouldn't have. He didn't say none of that. He
None of that.
said, I've been with you for whatever. I've loved you. You showed me what real love is. You supported me. Whoop, 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 whoop. All these things because that was a man that loved the woman that he's married to, and that's it.
Period.
He
I didn't
happens
know
to be
his wife
black.
was white
She had.
literally until 2 days
I
ago.
didn't
I
know
was
he
like,
was married. I didn't know he
oh,
was married, to be
I
honest
didn't
with
know
you.
he was married either, honestly.
But like,
I didn't know he had a kid. I didn't know really anything about him. I just only knew him for basketball. But shout out to him and his wife. And his wife plays basketball as well. I don't know if she
yeah,
plays professionally, but
I think she played. I think they played growing up, and maybe she did in college a little bit, but I don't think she
yeah.
plays anymore. But yeah, so
Anyways.
fuck RG3. We'll catch you
Oh,
next week.
okay.
You also have to end the show.
Oh my goodness. Fuck racism. That's what I'm gonna say. Just fuck it all. Like truly it's too late in the game to still be even on that shit. And especially over sports. Like it's just not even like worth it. It's not necessary. There's no place for it in the game, out of the game, off the court, on the court. There's just no place for it in all of the sports. Like I just wish that we could be more serious as a society. So that's going to be my last little note on that. Also enjoy Memorial Day,
Yes.
which is the day that you are listening to this. Hopefully you had some barbecue. Hopefully you had a little beans. Oh my gosh, we should end on that note. What grilled item are you looking forward to for Memorial Day?
Uh, I don't know if I'm grilling. Actually, I'm not grilling because we're going to the beach. We're going to the beach, and there's not
Oh,
a
that
grill
sounds
at the
fun.
beach. So, but
Have to get you a little portable grill.
the first thing that you can't always grill at the beach. I don't think you can grill at the beach in New Jersey.
Oh, I don't
Because
know.
I've
I've
asked.
never
I've
been.
asked.
Yeah.
But the thing that I'm always most excited for of the season is spicy Italian sausage.
Oh yes, you are a sausage guy. We did talk about this. I'm going
Pause. No,
to
I'm just kidding.
pause. I am going to my sister's house, my oldest sister, my brother-in-law. He is the griller of the family. So he's doing all the things. He's doing salmon and hot dogs and burgers and chicken and all the things. So I love a burnt weenie. That's like my favorite thing. Give me a nice burnt hot dog. I always have to start with a burnt hot dog. And then I'm a ribs girly. So I'm looking forward to the ribs, very much
Yes,
so.
I'm also looking forward to ribs because I need to perfect them. Last year was the first year that I made ribs. They were good, but I burnt them a little bit. Nothing wrong with burnt ribs, but like they're just a little bit like they weren't inedible,
Because it
but
can
they
make them
were.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. They weren't tough though. They were just. I also think it was a mix of like the ribs were a little skinny, so like where it was thicker, it was fine, but then on the end it was a little burnt, and so it could have got some better. It was some things, but I'm excited to just continue to
Try
do
again.
more
Yeah.
on the grill, especially ribs. I hope to have my ribs perfected by this summer.
So you can
Um,
have them for July 4th, period.
yeah.
Because
Although
it's
I,
just a reason for us to grill.
you
Juneteenth.
know,
Actually, no, Juneteenth.
yeah. Well, I'm going to a Liberty game on Juneteenth. My best friend's coming up, so. But
Oh,
yeah, so
cute.
that's all.
Yes.
But happy Memorial Day to those who celebrate. Happy Cookout Day Part One for those who celebrate that. And
We gave you 2 whole hours. Y'all are
yeah,
welcome.
we'll see you next time.